just steps up your elegant grace. Beauty with brains puts the world in its place. They light the mic, that truth ignites, burning through the fake in the dead of night. Feminism shaking, red pill faking, they're breaking every chain the culture's making. No simps, no saints, no soft disguise. They see through the games and the alibis. They're not here to please, they're here to lead. Truth and balance, that's the creed. No one's a boom. Lawrence and Gia, truth on fire. They're calling out the world's desire. From fake ideals to more decay, they're lighting up the modern age. No one's safe, not the church, not fame. They're flipping the script, rewriting the game. Love and logic, heart and soul, saving the truth for this nation's soul.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? How you living?
What's
What up,
up?
Gia?
What's up? New day, new people.
New day, new people. We're about to just, today is a very special day because, we get to wreck people. We make fun of them on Twitter, but today we about to do like our good deed for the year. Like if we haven't done it yet, today's going to be the day we do a good deed. And like what people may not know is like, we're about to pose an intervention. All right. Everybody has something to say about the red pill these days, right, Gia? Everybody does. Some preach it like it's gospel. Some call it poison. But what if both sides are missing the point? So today we got a man behind, Mr. Woman on Men Podcast, Raphael, here with us. And, we're going to unpack his take and, we're going to be raw and unfiltered about it. What are your thoughts about that, Gia?
I think that there's a lot of misconceptions everywhere, and you're right. Like there's not a single human that's got it all together. We're all flawed. So I think that's what it comes down to, is finding out what works for you, what works for your relationship, and listening to new perspectives. That's what we're about. So.
And you know what? We brought reinforcements in this time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We brought, the couple with 30 plus years together. They have made it through, what is it like? They're like old. They're like really old. Like Moses was around when they were there. He was parting the Red Sea and stuff. No, I'm kidding. They're not that old. But you know what? Without further ado, how about we go ahead and bring up Raphael and our good friends, Rob and Avis Ramble. How about that?
Let's bring them up.
Yo.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Hello.
How you
Nice
guys
to have
doing?
you.
It's Methuselah, not Moses. Methuselah was much older.
My bad. My bad. I didn't know. My bad. But what up, Raphael? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Glenn?
Doing good. How's Orange County treating you?
Sunny and nice, man, as always.
We still have yet to meet up yet, and I don't understand why. You're like less than 20 minutes away. We have not done anything yet.
But you know how it is, man. 20 minutes here is like a lifetime.
Like an hour. It's almost like we need a mandate to have a mandate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's about right.
So, but before we get going, how about you tell us your origin story? Who are you, and why do you do what you do?
Yeah, so grew up in a military family, moved around all over. I feel like I've gotten used to different social circles, different cultures, and I learned how to acclimate in different environments. Dated a lot, married in my 20s, divorced, married again now in my late 30s, now 40s. And I feel like I have a lot of experience with women. And when I would see these content creators around the red pill talking about women and giving advice to men about dating, I just couldn't disagree more. And so I feel like I needed to speak up and try to show a different perspective and try to help men date, because they're struggling right now. These young men are very, very single and alone. And I want to change that if possible for the ones that want change.
Okay. So what made you start Women on Men?
So a lot of the red pill creators around, whether it's Fresh and Fit or the whatever podcast, they interview women and they have their own agenda on why they're interviewing these women and the kinds of questions they're asking and the kind of, a worldview they're trying to basically push on to these guests. And I said, let me do the opposite. I'll just ask women general questions and try to get a different sense and a different perspective. Not as hardcore of an agenda, more generic. And I'll post things where people don't agree with me. I'll post things where people agree with me, but it's really just a different perspective on women's voices, on how they see men and what kind of man they want.
Was there ever a time that you actually researched or read any of the books that are being put out there through the red pill sphere, or was it just more of like going off of what you saw on podcasts?
I read Rational Male, and then I just watched hundreds of hours of different, interviews and panels and discussions, and but Rational Male is the main book I read, and that was definitely a eye-opening experience.
How do you describe the red pill?
Yeah, so I mean, I think originally it was set, to the allegory of the Matrix. You're in a world that's not real, and I'm going to show you the real world. And it basically claims to reveal women's nature, the sexual market dynamics. And it claims it in a way that makes it sound like it's factual and that it's biological and that it's fatalism. And I definitely don't find that to be true. I think what's happened now is that I know a lot of the red pill creators will call it a description, but the more popular creators now, I feel like, are definitely far more prescriptive, and they're far more popular than any of the other original red pill creators.
So I guess my question is, what is your major gripe with it? Is it's in its entirety, or can you like pick out pieces, be like, oh, this is worth saving, this is good, this is true, this shit, or are you just like throwing the baby out with the bathwater? What's your approach?
Definitely not. I definitely think there are things that I think are we align on in some ways. Like, for example, self-improvement. I think if men focus completely on themselves, that's going to solve most of their issues, because you really can't control other people. You can't control how other people react, how they feel. The only thing you can do is what you can focus on. So I do agree with that. I do think where the red pill gets it wrong. Well, let me start again on what we agree on. I do agree that your appearance matters to a degree. I don't think it matters as much as red pill makes it out. I do think that your financial situation matters to a degree, but not to the level in which the red pill makes it out to be. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they focus at all on mental health or actual internal reflection and trying to build up your internal fortitude. It seems to be all external. It's like your money, your status, your height, your looks, and that's all that. And if you don't have those things, you might as well not even try, because as Myron Gaines constantly says, the average woman doesn't want the average man. And that just isn't true. And I think what it's creating is a lot more of this anger and resentment and bitterness. And it's actually sending people to the black pill, which is more fatalism. And I think
it's funny, like, because Gia, Thor would always say, once you go red, you can't help but go black. Like he said, red pill.
You have to be very careful.
Yeah, red pill always turns to black pill.
Yeah, I look at it different. I look at it like, okay, there's an anger stage that every man goes through when he's had something happen to him through a relationship. So it's important to, again, I'll come back to discernment, but it's important to understand that you can only be in that mad stage for so long. There has to be a point where you grow, learn how you contributed to it, and then become better from there.
I don't know, like Rob, the other night we were in that space, right?
Which one? We've been in like 10 together recently.
The one I was yelling at people. I told that one dude to shut the fuck up.
Again, which one, Glenn?
Oh, no.
That's true. I don't ever like to get that mad with somebody, but I'm just like, just shut the... Anyways, the guy that was just like, there's no hope, there's none of this, there's just like doom and gloom. Like, it was just so doomsday. And it was just, that's what happens when you stay in the red pill and you make the red pill your destination rather than a gas station. Like go in there, get the tools that you need, and then get back on the road. Because you can't help but be nihilistic at that point. Remember?
Yeah, I do remember they saying that. Yeah, and I think just from my POV, I mean, how I view the red pill is it's a bunch of great information. Now, what am I going to do with it? Right? Mm-hmm. Am I going to use it morally? Am I going to use it immorally? Am I going to let it black pill me? Am I going to let it motivate me? That's kind of how I think. It's just information. And that's kind of why I asked how you describe it or how you define it. Because that's how I would define it. It's just information. Now, what prescription you give with it, different topic.
Yeah, and I don't know what information I even necessarily agree on with it on. Again, do women find guys who are physically fit more attractive? Yes. So they find women who maybe make more money attractive, taller guys attractive? Yes, those are things that happen. But I think what happens is that becomes the truth for a lot of these guys, and it doesn't necessarily, they don't, especially young men now who don't go out and socialize as much as we did. I'm sure everyone here socialized a lot more. We get to see couples in real life a bit more. And I see, in Orange County, I see people all the time, and it's like none of these people seem to match the red pill descriptors or what I see out there. There's shorter guys dating taller women. There are women who make more money. And I don't think that's necessarily an exception. 50% of US households are now dual income. 30% of households, women are making as much, if not more, than their husbands. And that trend's going to continue to rise. So there's these things that are set as truth in the red pill that I think you can take some of that information and say, well, that's interesting. Maybe it's worth me working my appearance. Maybe it's worth me working on my financial situation. Maybe these are things that I should also pursue. But I think it stops short of like full self-improvement. And it also, to me, falls short of trying to put the blame on women, which a lot of the creators, I think, tend to do. They'll talk about single moms and not once mention the single fathers who also, were a part to play in that. And it's like they always tend to put the onus on the women, which is why I think so many of the red pill viewers are angry. And then why, when they're being told that average women don't want you, then you turn black pill and you're like, well, screw it. These women suck. I can't believe they feel like this.
Let me ask you this: like, couldn't there be both be true? Like, we do know that statistically speaking, when it comes to like single parents, single fathers tend to raise better children way more than single mothers. We know that single fathers or the children under single fathers care fare way better, right? And
I
we
don't
do
disagree.
know that like single mothers are incentivized by like the court system these days with the way that family law is constructed, and there's lack of accountability there and a lack of due process. We do know that that it's easier to get that short-term gain. We do know that they don't actually do very well overall long-term, but we do know for that initial short-term gain, they do kind of get that benefit. They get the child, so they automatically kind of get defaulted custody, alimony, or child support, not to mention the asset division, just because of no fault. Like, that doesn't have to be a fault. So can we say that there might be a little bit of truth on both sides there? Because I can see why guys would be mad if one day, like, look, imagine Rob would be mad as hell if he woke up one morning and Avis just goes, you know what, your breath stinks, I am tired of this, I am done, I'm out. Like, he'd be like, wait a minute, babe, we had 30 years. Like, I'll use some Colgate, just leave me alone, just chill. But like, over nothing, that would be no fault, and she could just wreck his whole world, their whole world.
Yeah, I don't think it happens to that extreme. I think most people don't want to go through the process of divorce. I also kind of disagree with the idea that women are incentivized to divorce. Do they tend to get a little bit of more leeway in the courts and everything like that? Absolutely. But I don't necessarily agree that that's incentivization, especially when you look at alimony. Only 10% of marriages end in alimony.
Mm-hmm.
And in about 70 to 80% of the cases where the father actually fights for the rights to get the children, they get the right for the children. So a lot of things I think happen.
Hold on, there you go. Let me ask you, you said the father has to fight for the rights.
Well, not even fight.
Hold on. That's the problem right there. The father shouldn't have to fight for his rights to his kids if they're his kids.
I'm saying if he wants to claim custody, all he has to do is claim custody. And a lot of these fathers don't. So it defaults to the mother.
So it's full custody.
Because
you're talking about primary.
Right.
You're talking about primary custody.
Primary custody. And also
the only thing the father could get if he fights for it is going to be 50-50. Right. That's what he gets.
Not necessarily. I've seen that. I had to look at it again, but around 70% when fathers fight for full custody, get full custody. And
you're
also,
you're talking about the cases that they go through the whole process.
Right.
And they petitioning
if there's a fight about it, then someone has to come to an agreement. And often if the father does not file for custody, then the mother gets custody. But if in the cases where the father does file for custody, they tend to get it. Also, if you look at alimony, only about 10% of the marriages end in alimony. Mm-hmm. And also, now that men and women are dual income, even in a no-fault divorce, the assets split, and it's not necessarily just one way. So I think there's a lot of things that's why I disagree on the incentivization.
Raphael, have you ever actually been in family law or actually experienced personally any of these cases?
I've been divorced, but no family law, no.
Okay, because I've actually worked in family law and I've actually experienced these cases. And what you're saying on one end, that only less than 10% of women get alimony, that is correct. But what we're missing is that if a woman knows that if she divorces, okay, not only will there'll be child support. I mean, that's a given. There'll be child support. It might not be a lot, but there'll be child support. She would not have to take on the duties of being a wife anymore. Okay. And there are responsibilities that come with that. Then she also knows that, you know, her kids are going to side with her. She'll tell the kids what she wants, basically her side of the story. You know, the kids, when they are with their father, there's always turmoil, drama. We also understand that men seek out peace, right? More than anything, men want calm and peace. If all they're getting is the kids sided on their mom, drama, chaos, okay? Anytime they see the kid, there's, I need this, I need that, there's something else, right? What's going to naturally happen? Like human instincts are, hey, I'm out. Okay. That's what's happening. Like we have to understand there's two sides of the coin. I've actually seen what happens in these divorces. And I can tell you for a fact that a lot of these judges are female in the family law system. They're female and they side with the women.
There are more male judges in family court though, overall.
I would have to actually look that up again, because from where I'm standing, a lot of them are female. And from what I've actually experienced, a lot of them are female.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt anecdotally you dealt with more women judges. Last time I checked again, it was not that long ago, but in family, because I wondered myself, because people talk about how family court is built for women. And it's like, but the court system is mostly men. And why did men allow that to be built better for women if that's the case? And that's when I looked into the judges and I saw them, the majority, I think it's a vast majority, are male in family court. Again, I know different jurisdictions, different places, it's obviously going to be different.
I'll have to pull.
You do understand, like, you know, there are more male judiciaries overall across the board. And that does include family law. Certain jurisdictions may have more men in them, certain areas, and higher courts, and some may have women. There you have even the more female mediators than you do have male mediators. And most of the time, the mediators are judges that are not actively judging on the case. They're just trying to help the other judges' workload. So they could sit the role as judges. They may not be the judge that stamps the case, but they're part of the judicial team. So they would fall into that category as judges, and more female mediators than there are male mediators overall. But, you know, you said only 10%, right? Did you know as of 2023, right? 62 million couples in America. So 10%. We're only ruining 10%, 6.2 million guys' lives. I mean, like, you know.
Yeah. So in my information, I have over half in circuit and county judges are women. And that's the information I have. So we'd have to pull that back up again.
I have 33% are women, but we'll have to go look at it. You know, we'll have to come to some sort of agreement. But yeah,
but you said, like, why would they? But you said, why would men let women do this, right? Well, we have to understand, like, we had like, you know, the Duluth model of feminism, right? We know the Duluth model played a role in a lot of our laws, structuring. I mean, that's where we got the, was it VAWA or VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, right? And they made it seem like the only time, like, when there was a domestic violence call, it was a VAWA case. It was always the woman was the victim. And so that played a role in also family law too, especially here in California. Like, you know, I hope you don't ever have to experience this, but there's guys that I know that their girlfriend or ex, you know, find or just say, like, call the police. I think he's going to be mad at me if I tell him I want to break up. Just right there is the restraining order. They could issue a restraining order right here without him even doing anything, just because she said she thinks.
And I mean, how is that not being incentivized if you are not having to take care of the responsibilities of being a wife? You have income being put into your account. It might not be much, but I mean, she's already working. So now, you know, she has her child support, and the kids are signed up with her. Automatically, over 80% of cases that the mother gets custody of the children. So maybe not incentivize always with money, but we have to take into an account of what's happening. You know, back in the day, single mothers were not looked upon highly. You know, it was very hard for them to start over. Now it's very easy to start over. You can, a new man, you know, there's just, I think that there is some incentivization. I've actually seen it.
Yeah, I think that might happen, and there are, like, to Glenn's point, there are women who abuse the system, women who abuse the police system, women who abuse the perception that men are dangerous, etc. All that happens, but I do think when you look at a woman deciding to be a single mom, first off, if you look back, like you were saying, they've always were looked bad as single mom. Why weren't single dads also looked at like in that way? Why weren't
they were
single,
though?
but she specifically is talking about the women, and I think that's the thing that I see is, like, most of the time I don't think the woman's just like, I'm going to take my kids because I'm going to be selfish. I think often the guy might leave, or I think often there's something bad in the relationship that causes the parents to say, this isn't going to work, this is going to work for the children, and
what is the incentive to fix the problem? I think that's what it boils
Yeah.
down to, is if there's not a huge incentive to fix the problem, and it's just as easy to walk away because the state is sponsoring or backing your right to walk away easily, what's the incentive?
Do you mean no fault divorce being the incentive?
Well, I mean, if I can, if I, as a woman, I can, I know that I can walk out that door tomorrow. I can take 50% of the income, 50% of the assets at a minimum, potentially child support, alimony, other things, depending on how it goes. That's compared to having to go through the emotional turmoil and potentially having to be accountable for the things that I am responsible for. Maybe it's just easier to walk out the door and take 50% than actually work on what I need to work on.
Maybe, but again, most of the marriages aren't ending in alimony. 90% of them do not end in that. And I think whenever you're talking about these people splitting up, I don't think you look at mothers who are raising the children that they're in some great environment and they're thriving and they're just, getting their nails done. I think often, and there are people who probably take advantage of that, but I think if you look at the vast majority of people who split and are taking care of children, it's not like they're in a great situation. They're making, I think, at most $400 average on child support. 90% of them aren't getting alimony. They're trying to find work and take care of the kids. They're trying to also, they're not living off the income that they're getting off the divorce.
Is that the lesser evil than actually trying to work on yourself and fix the problems?
I mean, I think you should fix the problem if it's fixable, for sure.
Well, I mean, just think about
there's no
how
question
bad
about
of a
that.
decision that is. Like, Raphael, just by the numbers that you put out there, just what you're saying, they're not better off financially. They find themselves. So this whole, like, I need to go find myself, I need to leave this situation, it's not a good look for them overall.
But you're saying, again, women are the ones leaving. Women are the ones that file for divorce. That doesn't necessarily mean they're the ones leaving.
Yeah,
and men also are more likely to remarry. I don't know if we're aware of that too.
Oh,
men are more likely to leave and then marry somebody else.
Well, that's because men are the romantics, though, right? That's because men are the romantics. Like, we know that men are the more hopeless romantics. Like, all the best romance movies, everything comes from men.
I don't think most people would say men typically are known for wanting to be married more than women. But if you look at the stats, they are.
It's true.
They do better when they're married. Men do better when they're married. It's statistically proven.
It's a great thing for men to be married. I want to pause right here. I want to play a video that we were watching of yours earlier. I'm not sure if Rob and Avis saw this, but me and Gia were breaking this down, and she pointed out some really good things here. Gia, you ready for this one?
Go for it.
All right. You're gonna get the Gia attack.
Men are making their own money now. They're not necessarily looking for you to be a sole provider. Half of American households are dual income. About 16% of households, women are earning more than their partner. Women are going to continue to outpace men in terms of earnings, college degrees, home ownership. That's the trend we're seeing now. What women are looking for now aren't necessarily money. The thing that the red pill and these online manosphere things are telling you is that you need to make money and you need to be high status. Women are looking for personality. They're looking for humor. They're looking for kindness. They're looking for people that they can sit on the couch with and enjoy their life with. They're looking for someone that can enrich their lives, but not financially. They're looking for someone that can add joy to their lives, that can add stability to their lives, that can add adventure to their lives. They're not looking for money. They're not looking for you to be 6 foot tall. They're not looking for you to be these things that the red pill says. If you work on the traits that are going to make you a good long-term partner, your emotional maturity, your emotional intelligence, these are the things that are going to make you a long-term partner. And that's what they're looking for.
Oh, you got out again. Yeah,
no, I'm here.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
This is a rumble in the jungle. This is a thriller in Manila. Avis, you and me, Rob, we out.
What happened?
I don't know.
Is he getting back on? He's probably going to get back on.
No, I'm letting you guys do this. This is a one-on-one. And then you have your.
Okay, so let me ask you something.
Yeah.
On the first point where you said men still out earn women, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You in your video, you were saying women out earn men, or that they are beginning to. What? I just want to clarify
it's
that.
16% of relationships.
Okay,
16%
so
of marriages.
because I just wanted to clarify that because it came off sounding like women out earn men. When
I think in
naturality,
16%
men
of marriages, I said in 16% of marriages, women out earn men.
Okay, yeah, because men are still out earning women.
For sure.
I think it's important to like talk about what the average man is making in America, which is, I think they
50,000.
said 50 to 56%. And then on women, same exact thing, right? Women were coming in kind of that medial point. And then when you look at what actually it takes to sustain a house, even like a middle class home, kids, it's over 100,000 annually. So we're at a point where men and women have to work. They're even, if you really talk to women, they'll tell you, I would love to stay home.
I think a lot of people would. I think men, if I was married to Beyonce, I could stay home. I probably would too. Like I think if we all could have the money to do it, we would. But yeah, I understand.
So it's not that I didn't agree with the part where you said women aren't looking for sole providers, because they are looking for sole providers. Like when I talk to women, the first thing they tell me is, yeah, I would love to stay home. Yeah, I would love for him to take on the majority of the household income. If I want to, this is what they'll tell me. If I want to work, then it'd be something that I want to do. But if I have a baby, I don't want to have to be expected to, for instance, have somebody else take care of the kid. I want to know that I can stay home and I can raise my child. So I think on that part, like I didn't agree with that. So we have like women are looking for sole providers. I mean,
can I respond to that first before we go into the others?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
So on the sole provider tip, I mean, the majority of homes in the U.S. are dual income. So already the majority are not sole providers. Also,
only
when
18%,
I looked at
only 18%
are not.
Only 18% of couples could live off of one income.
Right. Yeah, that sounds right. And I think I only saw, I think on the high end, 60% of relationships, but I also saw that it's higher for parents who have children. The percentage of dual income actually goes up compared to just the normal average. So, that shows that also. Go ahead.
That's not what women are looking for. That's just the
Sure.
situation of the world, because in a woman's world, we're the provider. So we're still trying to do our best to do the work outside of the home and all of the pink jobs.
Yeah.
The raising of the children and all of the other things, the taking care of the household, and it just gets exhausting. So in an ideal world, we are looking for that sole provider.
Sure. I think it's the same way that like ideally women would date guys above 6 foot, but only 14% of men are 6 foot or above. But 56% of men are in relationships. So they might be looking for this. And ideally, like I'd be looking for Dua Lipa, but I didn't get Dua Lipa. I'm married to my wonderful wife, which is fine. But I think,
I'm gonna tell her.
She knows. Don't worry, she knows. But it's like I think ideally, like women will want someone that's above 6 foot. And then some guys might say they're settling for somebody, but I don't think it's necessarily settling. I think you fall for somebody and you're like, oh, you know what? I don't care about his height, or I don't care about his income, or I don't care about this. And you end up with partners that you actually really enjoy. I do agree that ideally, I think most guys would want an Instagram model or want, a runway model. I think ideally that's what guys would want, but they get who they fall in love with.
They need to learn about Build-A-Bitch.
Thank you. God, you don't know what Build-A-Bitch is yet, Raphael.
I don't, but I'm sure it's coming.
Oh, I'm gonna have to. You know what, Rob? I'm just gonna have to.
This circles back around to the whole self-improvement thing, even though you're not going.
Build-A-Bitch.
Here we go.
Good wives don't come pre-made; they are built.
They are built. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So then this leads me to the next part of the video, when you were saying that women want, someone as a companion. They want you to sit on the couch and talk to them. They're not looking for a sole provider. And I have to say that without a doubt, and Avis, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Most women, if they're working already and they find a man, they're looking to upgrade their lifestyle from his income. So
Yeah.
I think that needs to be said. Like, you left that out in your video, because that can be, I'm sorry, if women are being honest and they say the honest part out loud, they want to be able to take more trips. They want to maybe get a bigger house. You know, it's always the more thing.
Which is
Avis?
kind of, I'm sorry, Gia, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Oh, I wanted to get Avis's opinion, see what she said
Agreed.
about that.
Yeah, Rob,
Yeah,
you got to be
agreed.
quiet. We got to be quiet right
I
now.
know, yeah. Women are speaking. I got it. I was just going to add, you know, but I think that's part of when we're talking about the incentivized conversation. So, you know, the woman's got the man, and like these women right here are telling us, you know, like they do want those things. And now if, you know, Chad down the street is suddenly single, and you know, hey, there's not really a penalty to leave your husband to go get Chad, who may give you that better lifestyle you're looking for.
At least socially right now, right? Like, at least you're
Yeah.
talking about socially speaking.
Yeah.
I agree, but if you also look at the statistics, men are 54%, I think, more likely to cheat, and they're also more likely to remarry. So it's like
That's
we
not
always seem to
necessarily
focus.
true.
That's
men are
just the
54
general.
No,
That's
men
the
are
general.
54% likely to be honest and admit that they cheat. Because men deal with, because you got to understand, all this is self-reported. There's not as much of a stigma for when men cheat as it is when women cheat, because the consequence when women cheat is that you might be raising somebody else's kid. So it's like the stigma is not there. So yes, 54% of men were more honest and were more forthcoming about it, but it doesn't mean that they cheat more.
Well, those
I mean,
men
like
are cheating with someone.
Sure, but it could be a bartender. It could be a million things, and I
It
think
could be a married lady down the street.
It could be, but I think there's no data that I've seen that says women cheat more than men. And I know you're saying this is self-reported, but I've never seen any statistic that says that. Also, because men are more willing to remarry, that also shows me that they're also more likely to potentially leave a relationship and start a new one more than women are. So the idea that women are going to leave for a Chad, it's the same as like a man's going to leave for a younger
How are
woman.
you defining starting a relationship? Are you saying like a man is more likely to maybe get remarried?
To
than a
remarry,
woman?
yeah.
But
I'm
the
saying
woman
remarried.
is still out there in a relationship or relationships.
Potentially, yeah, for sure. I mean, women, I think right now, especially younger women, there are more relationships than younger men. They're probably dating millennials. It's the biggest generation gap jump we've seen in a long time. But I think when you look at it statistically, there's nothing that says women are typically the ones leaving. It's like we're always focused, especially red pill guys are always focused on these Chads and the women that want these Chads. But it's like men also want younger women, and they often leave for younger women, and that's something we see statistically.
But here's what I have a problem. Like, okay, yes, I can agree with you that red pill are for they're for men. Okay, they are speaking to men. They are supporting men in every single category. But like, how is it any different from what you're doing when you're speaking to women? And in my opinion, you are talking about like how women or how data sees it, when we all know data and statistics lie. They're not honest.
I mean, I'm basing not only on data, but also my own anecdotal experience. I think 3 of the women I've been with made more money than me, and that's never been an issue. I've been married, divorced. I don't think my ex ever got remarried, so I'm a part of that statistic too. You know, it matches my real life. I don't feel like I would just start spouting things that didn't also match my dating experience and my real experience. So I use data as like kind of like a thing that's like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. But I feel like red pill guys often just use fear and boogeymen to say that watch out, the Chad is going to be there.
Like
watch out, the Chad's always going to be around. She's always going to leave you for somebody better.
But when you say red pill, like when you put everybody in the red pill circle, like you can't talk about black pill guys on the internet saying, oh, she's gonna sleep with Chad. I don't consider that red pill. That's just guys talking guy stuff. Okay, like I think there really needs to be a distinction.
How about we have, you know, Raphael put his nuts on the table and say their name. Who are
Myron
these?
Gaines. Myron Gaines. I've called Myron Gaines out a million times. No, because he called me out in a video. One of the things that like a video I just did there where I talked about how women, you know, red pills and they don't want to date red pill guys, and all these women are saying this. And he called me a bitch and all this other stuff. So I called him, like, I'm ready. Like, I told him I'll go in his house and embarrass him. Like, I'm not afraid to talk to Myron Gaines, but he's ducking me. I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. Rollo's ducking me too. Everybody's ducking me. I'll go in anybody's house right now. That's why I was
Oh,
saying
yeah.
I don't need a safe space. I'll go in your house. Like I'm not scared to do it because I think these guys are leading men down very dangerous paths, and it really, honest to God, upsets me.
So
It's
let me say
interesting.
this about this because I do understand what you're saying. I don't like how they weaponize the way they frame things, like especially when they talk about hypergamy, right? They talk about hypergamy like it's just this evil demon in this woman. Like all women have this evil demon that lives inside their vagina called hypergamy. And you know what? If you're just an inch less than the guy next door, your wife is gonna throw away 30 years of marriage just to get with that guy who's like maybe 0.5% to 1% better.
Exactly.
I hate the way they weaponize that way because that's not true.
Yeah.
You know, the way I look at it is like hypergamy is God's gift for women. He gave them this ability to sort out which type of man is the best option for her to marry. That's going to be able to provide the most amount of resources for her and her offspring. That's how I look at it. It's a way to vet, right? Just like guys, we have a way to vet. That's God's it's like their discernment. You know, it's their way to that's like Gia's favorite word. It's their discernment process to mate selecting. Now, what I think a lot of people don't realize is that there's a difference between hypergamy and open hypergamy. Now, open hypergamy is what we see now, women like swinging from one dick to the other like a monkey branch, right? They'll go from here to here, right? Like I have an article right here from this lady that said, I want my first marriage to be for money, my second marriage to be for love. That would be open hypergamy. I think everybody could agree that would be really bad. So I hate when they just weaponize the word and they don't realize that if you could deliver it in a neutral tone, you're not going to get an emotional reaction either way. But they have to weaponize it because they need them to have this negative emotional reaction in order to have that, well, what do we do, Rolo? What do we do? And let me follow you. Like they need to have that following in order to be relevant.
Yeah.
And so it's like
But isn't that a form of tone policing if we tell them how to say what they want to say?
No, it's not really tone placement, but it's like lack of accuracy, I want to say. Like,
yeah, and it's not tone.
Instead
of saying all women are gonna leave you for the next guy that makes $100 more than you, instead of saying that, is say hypergamy is this tendency for women want to date up. It's not tone. It's like you're trying to scare people versus just trying to like convey information. I think it's a totally different approach.
I mean, it's like if we said like all women want to be with a guy that they could look up to. And, you know, and if that means financially, you know, socially, and like leadership wise, they want that. They want somebody they can look up to. It's really hard to respect somebody when you're looking down on them, right? So if you look at it that way, that's like hypergamy. Women want somebody they can look up to so they can follow them, right? That's not a bad thing. But when you say, well, the reason why she's going to leave you because of hypergamy, if you slip up, it's because of hypergamy. When they frame it that way, that's more of a thing is more dishonest than like being accurate with how it is. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it, Gia.
Well, there's dating and there's marriage too. Like when you're dating, it's a whole new game, right? Like that's what you're doing. You're looking for your mate, you're interviewing, and you have the ability to say, yeah, this isn't for me, and to walk away. And that should be, in that case, that's no fault. It didn't work out. We were just dating. I'm on my way. Thank you for whatever.
I've never had any problem with any of them personally because I'm able to separate myself and my own experiences from what's going on with everybody else. So like when I hear all women are all men, I know, yes, some generalizations are done because you can't take the exclusion. Like you can't say, oh, because this outliner did something different, that doesn't mean that everybody else is doing it. Like that's not fair either. And I think
all is black pill. Right.
The exception only proves the rule too.
Yeah.
So I've never had any problem with the way to word things because I'm able to separate myself. Like nothing triggers me because if it's not something that I'm personally doing, why would it trigger me? You know, I can take something and understand it. And I think that's what I've done.
Confirmation bias. You have to watch for that. So like when they say all this, but then all the video clips and then all the panel shows that they have on, they reinforce that type of archetype of a woman that's behaving that way, and then you get like all this and then so it's like this constant like a feedback loop, right?
When you write a book called Why Women Deserve Less and you call women stupid on every episode, you're like, well, women are stupid and they make stupid decisions and we should repeal the 19th and all this other stuff. It's not just here's a red pill descriptor. It's women are bad and we should avoid them at all costs. Myron Gaines has had one girlfriend his entire adult life, and he's telling men how to keep relationships. It makes no sense. It's like having a cooking show. You never cooked a day in your life. Like, the guy shouldn't be doing this.
I mean, I do agree, but you're also leaning on to like the experience. Like if you couldn't learn how to do something by observing, you couldn't learn like how to avoid certain problems
by observing. I don't know a single instance.
This is the way I've always said it. I don't believe in the whole, well, you're not married, so you can't teach, or you're divorced, so you can't. No, I believe that you can learn something from everybody. It depends. I'm going to want a different outcome in my relationship than maybe you, Raphael. And maybe Avis is going to want a different outcome in her relationship than me, right? So why would I say, well, my way is the only way? So I think that, yes, Myron and them, they have their own style, especially in the atmosphere that they're in. Like, I think he's in Miami, he's dealing with all these women, and that's how he wants to handle it. And that works for him. Like, who am I to judge that?
I'll judge it for you. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it, because I think, the amount of stuff, the amount of men that come to me after listening to Myron and after listening to Andrew Tate that come to me in my coaching and say, I don't know why I started to fall for this. It started to make sense. You really helped me kind of see that there's another way. And enough of those men have come to me that it makes me even more upset that this is happening to these young men.
Here's the other thing on the flip side of that, because I would say, you know what, as much as you point out how like they're detrimental and they're leading men down the wrong road, I'm gonna tell you, I feel the same way about your message at times.
That's fine.
I think your message is actually even giving them hope in certain areas and not requiring them to improve or level up. And it's like that's problematic.
My entire book is about leveling up. That's the entire everything I teach and coach.
Your book, but I'm saying like your messaging. Like when we play that video again, I'll play it again. Right? I'll point out like, no, this is wrong. This actually tips the scale in your favor if you do this. Right? Like it's constantly about making, if you're going to get in a relationship, you want to put yourself in the best position so that your relationship thrives. So if you want a successful relationship, you want to tip the scale in your favor for that successful relationship.
And that's what I tell men.
But not when you're saying some of the stuff in this video, like
I'm saying that they only focus on that. And that
women, they don't want women to be providers. No, women want men to know that they want to know that the guy that they're with, if that woman decides that go out for maternity, that this guy's competent enough that whatever is necessary to re-earn or to make up, that he's capable, he's competent, and he could do so. They may not make it right away, but they want to trust that this guy's a problem solver and he's competent and he's able to do so.
What I'm saying is that women aren't necessarily looking for sole providers, because again, most households are dual income. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they don't want.
But is that the ideal? That's not the ideal.
The sole provider is the ideal, though.
Well,
but
sole provider
is
reality. What I'm saying. But it's also not reality. Not the ideal. Doesn't mean people don't strive for the ideal.
I know, but you're going to see less and less single income people getting together. It's just that's just our economy. That's the way the world's working. It's going to be less and less.
But should that be when you say, well, what's going to be the best practices that are going to help relationships across the board?
Yes.
What historically have we seen tend to be primarily good foundational things for the family in order for them to thrive? And it is everybody playing their position. Right. If they want dad to be the sole provider, if that's what they agreed upon, and that tends to be the best thing for that family, that's what they're going for. Some people are cool with them both working, but we see when you talk about child rearing too, today's day and age, you don't want the culture or society raising your children. Like you want to have that. If you had the choice between having your wife at home or some stranger raising your kid, you're going to want your wife doing that. So you want to, that's part of setting yourself up and your family's future up for the best outcome. So sole provider, more women are willing to tolerate that because that's the norm, but that's not ideal. And if you don't think that, like, not trying to strive for that is not tipping the scale in the other direction, you'll be wrong, my friend.
And I think everyone should strive for the best possible thing. But what I'm saying is that the message that's out there is that if you're not this thing, you will not find a woman. And that's the message that
there's positive and negative consequences.
I don't hear that from these content creators. I don't hear my way is the only way. I've never heard that from any of them. Am I wrong?
Literally says yes. Yes. Myron literally says the average woman doesn't want you.
No,
So-
he says
But
the
that's-
average woman doesn't want an average man, and that's smart.
Who's listening to his podcast? The average man. It's not the 1%. It's
And right
average
there,
guys.
that should
I've
motivate
seen-
you.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I've
go
seen
ahead,
I've seen him have very logical conversations on marriage, and I've seen him give great advice when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I want to see that video. I would have to debate.
I have so many clips where I clip Myron, and I'm gonna do more. They just did the West Coast Avengers with Rolo and Andrew Wilson. I'm gonna do a whole reaction to that. I mean, he said it in that video. He said it in that video, and it's a very common phrase. He says the average woman doesn't want the average man, and I think that's absolute bullshit. And I think that's the harmful message that gets put out there because
Rob, go
it
ahead.
sends
If you
mental
wanna
health.
chime in here.
But hold up, but wait a second. Okay, the average man is overweight. The average man makes $30,000 a year. The average man doesn't want to do anything but sit home. So the women don't want the average man. Like, I don't know why what he said was right though.
56% of men are in relationships, so obviously the women date average men.
But here's the question: is why would you want to be average?
I don't say everyone should be average, but some people
So
are
then-
average.
Yeah, and so for when go ahead, Rob. Go ahead. You've been trying to get in here.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't know. I think maybe the moment passed when I was going to say, but I think just the point I'd like to make is you want to strive. What is going to give you the best outcome, right? And whatever that ideal is, that's what you should be striving for. So we should be talking about what are the ideals, what should we be striving for, and I think that's kind of the point that's being made is that if the ideal is not average, right? So if you want a more better chance of it working out, you need to be above average.
I tell men that. I'm not saying that you should try to be above average, but I also know, especially when I go out in life, average guys are in marriages, average guys are in relationships. It is also something that
Are
happens.
they good marriages and are they good relationships?
I mean, that's who's ever had a good. I mean, if you look in the 50s, were they having good marriages? Has anybody had a good marriage? Most
We
marriages
have a good
end.
marriage.
Me too, but I'm saying like you look at the world, most marriages. I don't think my parents necessarily had a happy marriage. I think they would have split up if
So then what's the point of getting married then? If you're saying like most people are not going to have good marriages, so just
I'm
like
not saying there's a point to getting married. I'm saying if you want a long-term relationship, average people get into those as well. It doesn't have to be marriage. I'm not necessarily a proponent for marriage, but there are guys who want to get in relationships, and I think these red pill guys are making them black pilled and say, "Well, frick it, like the dating market's screwed. I'm never going to date anybody." And I don't think that's true.
I mean, I agree with you to a degree there. Like, yes, they do help tip the scale to the black pill, right? And I think that there's an incentive for both sides to like have this war and divide. But the reality is that one, this is what I think what happens with the red pill that nobody wants to talk about is they still pedestalize women. They're still like, I mean, they're constantly thinking about what women are doing. The average woman doesn't want to date the average guy. Who are you focusing your decision making through whether or not you're going to continue to level up on this area or you're going to pursue this? Oh, if I want to get a woman, I have to be, you're still filtering everything through what the average woman would want from you. What do you want from you? Like,
that's a good point.
But maybe what we should be talking about is while everybody is gravitating toward these influencers, right? Maybe we should be asking ourselves why. Like, that's a symptom. Like, what they're doing is a symptom, but there's a root problem here. And I think maybe we should be like really focusing on that. And then instead of like doing this war back and forth about who's putting out the better information, like we need to focus on why people are looking for answers and why they're so confused.
And you need to do it at the like kind of detailed level because it's not always the same. Depends on the topic.
Yeah, and all the stuff I've read about why guys fall into red pill. I mean, COVID exacerbated this by a million because you had these young guys who weren't being social and they went online, and that's when a lot of these channels blew up. And these guys started innocently. They start looking for like fitness tips, or they look at like how to talk to a girl or how to get confidence, and then so quickly they're fed red pill. And it's a compelling argument for somebody who's not getting any kind of action or any kind of dates and has no idea what to do. So you're looking at these guys with Bugattis and you're looking at these guys that claim to know the secrets of women and the truth about women. And maybe you have a little bit of anger and bitterness inside of you. And these guys are, poking at it, and it brings something out of you. You're like, oh man, yeah, the women do suck. Their standards are too high. I can't believe women feel this way. And that becomes their reality because they don't live in the real world. They live online, which I think is the irony that the red pill claims to open you up to the real world, but it's this complete digital only space. When you look at the actual real world, none of that is true.
So,
well,
okay.
I mean, Go ahead,
For me, when people say, or when people even say the red pill, like when they even like to try to put everybody in groups, I like automatically shut off. I don't listen to them anymore, because the way I see red pill is really like a Bible. It's like a place to go for common sense. So it's undefeated. In my opinion, it's undefeated. Okay. Now that's a subject in itself. Who gravitates to that? The core problem, what's going on here? We really do need to talk about, like, okay, for me, even when they talk about feminists, okay, I hear, oh, a feminist votes, or a feminist, and I'm like, no, it's not about what she dresses. It's not about the fact she votes. It's not that she's doing a job. For me, a feminist is a woman who can't take responsibility of her own shit, basically. Like, she likes to point fingers and turn into a victim. And I hate victim blaming. I'm not into the whole like, oh, it's your fault. No, stop the pointing the fingers, figure out what went wrong, and then fix it. Do it as an individual. Because I know in my own marriage, you know, over 25 years of being married, you know, I've had lots of things that have come up. And what did I do? Did I sit around going, oh no, it's his fault? No. Okay. I need to get my ass to the gym. I need to eat better. I need to figure out what's going on with my hormones. Why is my libido low? You know, like, I took charge. I took the initiative. And I think there's just not enough people. That everyone wants to go to like that secret pill, you know, like that, oh, where can I get an easy fix? No, the work is internal. So maybe that's what it is.
I agree. And that's all I talk about in my book. I'm a big believer in like the stoicism ideal of you can only control what you can control. Everything outside of your control, you don't even need to focus on. So in my book, and all the things I coach men on is literally, do not worry about how a woman reacts to your approach. React how you only focus on how you react to the approach. What is it that you're feeling? Are you okay with the rejection? Like, if you're confident enough, rejection won't hurt you. That's the only thing that you have to worry about and building up in yourself. Because what happens with these red pill guys is they put all the blame on women, and they look for any excuse to blame women for their current circumstance. They don't blame men for it. They don't blame themselves.
I want to show you something, and these are just.
But I'm going to encourage you on. I'm going to say one last thing to you. I'm going to encourage you, instead of in your videos, or instead of like the way even right now you're like the red pill guys, or I would say just like, we don't need to constantly point fingers back and forth. Like, we need to actually handle. So let's say your audience is mainly women, which I don't know if that's what is this? Okay. So sometimes when I see like your comments, it's a lot of women. So maybe we can direct, and this is the same thing we had on the Ali Beth, the Stuckey conversation. Everybody's pandering to their audiences. Like, we need to actually say, women, have sex with your husbands enthusiastically. Women, get your libidos checked. Women, it's not always trips and bigger houses. Like, let's get a smaller house. Let's make our lives simple. You know, like, we need to be doing that more.
Yeah, I would say like the one thing that like what I love what me and Gia do and what Rob and Avis do, we don't pick sides. We're not on any side. We're on the side of the truth. At the end of the day, that's the side that we're on. We don't have no allegiance to a gender, a flag, a team. No, we're on team truth. And if you're not speaking the truth, regardless if you're male, female, or friend or foe, we will call it out. Like, we have no problem pointing it out. Like, no, this is a flaw. This is what we need to do. We need to address this. Like, it's not pro men, pro women.
And I'll admit I'm sorry too. You know, like if I'm at fault, I'm gonna admit I'm wrong. You know, like, and we all need to be able to do that.
So I'm gonna highlight a few things for you. These are just 3 articles, right? My husband couldn't stop me from cheating, but my kids could. And how about this one? Oh, that's the same one. My bad. Did it twice. Here we go.
Do we need the Jeopardy music? Oh.
Cheating on my husband made me a better mother. And I have 3 more, but I don't need to show them all. But they're all in the same vein. So to say like there is an incentive here. Like these are people, women are publicly talking about this as if it's acceptable, and that it's good for the kids, it's good for her. I became a better mother because I was getting other dick from someone else, not my husband. That type of narrative, if you can't say that's bad or that's like, weaponizing, then that's a problem. See, we have no problem saying men and women both make mistakes. The red pill, like I said, the descriptions of the problems, I'm all for it. There are some prescriptions that I agree that are beneficial, and there's some that I think that are very detrimental and problematic. And I'll say this, I don't think the red pill is in this position to teach or trying to help men create long-term healthy marriages. I think it's more for short-term mating strategies, just trying to get the girl on the bed, trying to get the notch up. And they don't really give you the tools to kind of like, okay, how do you get through year 1 or year 4 in a marriage? And now things are getting a little bit complicated and the kids are here. And then now intimacy might be declining. Like they don't really get into that aspect.
Well,
right?
none of them
But
are in those relationships. So that's partially why.
That's true. But like, I mean, we got plenty of couples here who have been there. They have done that. They can write a book about it. And we need to hear those voices. But so that's why I say I think the red pill doesn't do good at like securing long-term relationships. Also, I don't like the fact that when they say, well, feminism is the problem and female promiscuity is the problem, but at the same time, they capitalize on feminism and female promiscuity. And so it's like, well, if you say this is the problem, then why are you
encouraging men to get a lot of partners?
Yeah. So it's like, you're saying that, you know, body count matters, but you're telling these guys to go get your notch counts up. Who are they supposed to get their notch counts up with? Well, the women that you don't want them to get their notch counts up with. So it's kind of counterproductive there. So
it is. And I agree with you on almost everything you said. They definitely aren't focused on long term, but I don't think they're helping men in the short term either. I think one of the reasons I got into this, I looked at studies of people, peer-reviewed studies of people who study people who watch red pill content. They have so many terrible mental health outcomes. They become more isolated. They become more lonely. They date less. And it's like, that's the complete opposite outcome of what they're claiming they're going to help these guys do. I personally don't know any guys that are red pill followers that are having a lot of success with women.
I actually know quite a few, and I don't think that, you know, I think that's a fringe element, right? Because I think the people that want to get help themselves, okay, it's like this. If I had 100 people that I was coaching, right, I guarantee you that, if 100 people signed up for my coaching course, guarantee you that 80% of them probably won't get through the whole course, right? So that means 20%. Out of that 20%, I guarantee you about 10% of them will probably make it to the course's completion, right? And out of that 10%, you might get 5% that actually apply everything that I coach them in doing and making changes. So that the odds are that people, we say they want to change. A lot of people want, it sounds good, but they're not willing to really put in the action or pay the cost to be the boss when they find out what is required of them. So, you know, so they talk about it, or they say, you know what, well, fine, I'm going to go my own way. I'm going to grab my ball and I'm going to go home and I'm going to go get me a sex doll, because a sex doll is not going to make me have to require anything. I just put some batteries in it and she's going to go. So there's a lot of guys that are out there that they don't even have to be red pilled. They just don't like the fact that women are requiring and have a standard, and here's the thing, men can have a standard too, you know, but they think that they can't. So it's
they
like,
have to have a standard.
Yeah,
exactly.
Any self-respecting person has standards. Any self-respecting person has boundaries.
So I think you have to look at it as like they both could be true and wrong at the same time.
Raphael, how do you separate the difference between keeping women accountable versus hating on women? Like, what do you see the distinction between the two?
Good question.
I think holding someone accountable doesn't involve, I think, a strong emotion. I think to say that the women who are out there saying cheating on my husband made my marriage better, I would say that's terrible advice, and I don't think you should give that advice. That's the only accountable I can do. That's about it, but that doesn't mean all women are like this. And see, women cheat and women love to cheat and they're going to leave you for the next thing. That anger starts to come out of the red pill. I think it's okay to say there are some terrible women out there and, you know, we should call them out, but I think that's about it. I don't think it needs to be an all women or a broad brush stroke. You definitely should call people out on terrible things. I mean, I
so
don't
like when I was going through your content, what I actually saw was like, okay, what women want. I didn't actually hear anything that kept them accountable. So that's why I'm asking, did I miss that, or? No,
I had two goals: get men out of red pill and teach them how to date. And that's all I'm trying to do. I don't necessarily go out and say, I'm going to call out women.
But
that's the problem.
This leaves out what's happening on the other end, though.
But even if it is happening on the other end, how is that going to help my guys date?
Here, easy, because you know what? We could be able to suss out the bad behavior. If you're not teaching them, you're teaching them how to date, but if you end up basically having them run through like a machine gun and just say, don't get shot. Like they're getting sprayed. You're not teaching them who to look out for, what type of behaviors and personality traits to, look for or to avoid. If you're just teaching them, getting out there to get them how to date, that could be more damaging than sitting back and waiting to learn what to look out for.
If men listen to me before they even leave the house, they're only working on their self-confidence and self-respect. I feel like that's going to take care of 99% of their problems.
But that seems like it's all self-out.
It's one-sided, because I can tell you in my own marriage alone, I had a lot of things to fix. And if I didn't fix those things and my husband didn't point those things out for me, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be with him today. So it's just not right. You have to hold women accountable as well as men.
Yeah, but I'm not. What men am I holding accountable besides the grifters? I'm not talking to men and saying you have to do this. You have to. I'm saying, hey, if you want to date, these things might help you. I don't think I'm holding anybody accountable except for Myron Gaines and Rollo Tomasi.
But the criteria that you're saying, if you do this, if you want to go out there and be successful, you have to meet this standard. That's holding them accountable. The standard is the accountability. If you're not doing this,
the standard is if somebody comes to me and says, hey, how can I get better pecs? I would tell them you got to eat well and you got to chest press. That's what I would tell them. I wouldn't say, look at all these other gym people who do it wrong. I'm saying this is what you can do to improve your own muscles.
If they were there and they didn't need to get those better pecs because they already had them, then they already met the standard. They were already accountable to that diet and workout routine, so they're good.
But I'm telling men to even on that level.
But if they're not on this level,
brush your teeth.
You're here.
Put on deodorant.
You got to get up there. That's the standard. That's holding them accountable to a standard. You're still holding them to a standard.
I'm not. I'm telling men if you want to build confidence, this is what you need to do. It's the same way if hey, if you want to get abs, this is what you need to do. That's all I'm doing. I'm not holding anybody accountable. It's up to them to decide if they want to take it seriously or not.
And okay, I'll put a pin in that, but I want to point out something. You are actually requiring them to seek external validation for confidence.
Nope.
Yes.
Not once have I told men. The first thing I tell men about confidence is that it shouldn't matter what anybody else thinks about you.
You just said if you're getting out there to get out there to feel confident, to date, to do this, that means that external success, that validation that they get from the success externally is going to help build their confidence.
Nope. I tell men they're going to get rejected a fuck ton when they go out. But if you have confidence before you even do that, it doesn't matter.
Where does that confidence come from?
It comes from your own self-worth. One, it goes from, do I like the way I dress? Do I like the way I feel in my body? Do I take my mental health into account? Do I even look?
Why does that even have to be discussed in the context of dating?
Because confidence is one of the most attractive aspects of dating, and I'm trying to teach men how to build that up.
Right, but I think the point Glenn is picking at, if I'm understanding correctly, is ultimately what you're telling them is that when they're getting the dates and they're being successful, that's the validation.
I don't talk about getting the dates until like the last chapter of the book.
Well, I think the question would be, why do they need to dress better, brush their teeth, or fix their hair to have confidence?
Because unless if looking like a slob makes you feel confident, go for it. But I've never seen that really be the case. The only thing that's ever made me feel confident is if I feel like I look good to myself, if I feel good in my body to myself. I don't tell men to go get jacked. I tell them just make sure you're being healthy, because being healthy is an important part of feeling good about yourself.
But isn't real confidence come from competency?
Partially. I also teach men to learn new skills. I teach them to go face fears that you've never faced before. If you always said you want to learn guitar and you let yourself down by never learning how to play guitar, then you are failing yourself. And that's all within your control. You can decide to say, I'm going to learn to play guitar. I'm going to learn to cook, or I'm going to learn how to new skill that I want. That competency is also another level of confidence. I go level by level. And that is one of the levels called trust the man in the mirror, which is you actually value yourself. You actually do the things you say you're going to do. You're going to get up early. You do it. That makes you feel more confident. I tell men how to build it up from the ground up without even needing a single other person.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is that, I tell guys not to even worry about women. That's focus on becoming the better version for you. A woman is a byproduct of success.
I agree.
If you are being successful, you're going to put yourself in a better position to have more options, a bigger network to choose from. So you choose to have a relationship. But at the end of the day, that's your goal is not to get the woman. If that's your goal, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. You're doing it for the woman. Now you're still doing it for this external validating thing that, you know, if you don't get her, then everything that you did wasn't worth it.
I agree, but that's not what I say. In the first chapter, I say this is something you should do even if you never want a relationship.
But you're saying the motivation though, is there motivation getting women though? Is that what they're coming to you for?
I think they're buying the book because they're interested in dating. Yeah, I think that's a part. They want to know how to date, and you know. But I say, hey, before you even start that, before you even leave your house, we got to work on your insides, buddy. We got to start there, because I'm not going to teach you how to talk to women if you're going to be too shy to talk to them in the first place. You got to work on yourself.
Gia pointed out something just a few minutes ago. She said she brought up the Ally Beth Stuckey thing. Right, I'm not sure if you caught wind of that, but there was when Ally Beth Stuckey is this Christian influencer on Glenn Beck's network. She was on TPU tour, and she's like, "Men need to stop watching porn. Men, porn bad, men." And she was just kind of like laying into men about porn. Men, we need your strength, we need your masculinity, blah 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 blah. Right?
I might have heard that. Okay.
But she only addressed one part of the equation: men's porn consumption. So she only addressed the addict. But she didn't address the drug dealer, the females that make the porn, or like, you know, the wife that's neglecting the husband so that he's turning to porn, right? She didn't address the other parts of the equation here. So what you're doing is you're only giving up a half of a portion of a solution that doesn't provide the whole solution. So a half a solution is still a failed, you know, equation. And so this is why Gia was saying, like, if you're not going to point out the flaws or negative behaviors in women for men to look for, to avoid, you're setting them up for failure.
But here, look at what you said. Okay, for example, again, I'm a believer in teaching men what's within their control. If she's also trying to reach men and saying, hey, here's what's within your control, stop watching porn. If that's her message, then that is a message that man should receive. Should he say, okay, you know what, I'm going to stop. But if she says women should stop making porn, that's not going to reach the people who are making porn. That's not going to stop a single woman on earth from making porn. But if I can tell men don't do it, and then the more men that do that, the less lonely OnlyFans and et cetera there'll be, then that's what's within their control, is their own libido, their own, what they do with, you know, their pants off or not.
So you don't look at approaching a problem holistically?
I believe in approaching a problem and where it can be fixed, where someone can actually make a difference, and that's mostly on the individual level. Me saying, oh, all these women making OnlyFans is not going to fix the problem. It's calling it out. It's saying, hey, a lot of women make OnlyFans, maybe we shouldn't, but that's not going to change anything. If I say, hey guys, if you're looking to fix your life, maybe stop watching so much porn, that's within that guy's control who's watching that video.
What is your version of a healthy masculine man look like compared to what you have been like? I know that you pointed out what you don't like, you know, but what is your version of a healthy masculine man?
Yeah, I find healthy masculine man is somebody who is confident within themselves 100% and doesn't need to make anybody know about it. They just are, and they're calm in that. And if they can, you know, someone who can fight but never even like tries to pick a fight, someone who can keep themselves together, and be in total control of their own emotions and desires. I think that's the most healthy version of a masculine man.
Sounds like he read Thor's book secretly.
I wrote that in my book, so I don't know.
I wrote that in my book. Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, we agree on so much, Glenn. That's why I don't know why you try to convert me, because we agree on so much. That's why.
The problem I have with you is the same thing I have with, you know, anybody that doesn't tell the whole story. That's my biggest issue. It's like, I'm not going to tell a half a story, or I'm not going to present a half solution. Like, I'm going to tell guys, look, you're Christian dudes. 76% of you are watching porn. What the fuck's wrong with you guys? Stop watching porn. Christian wives, why is your husband watching porn? Like, what he should not have any need to watch porn. He's married.
Why do you weigh 250 pounds?
Yeah, like, exactly. Yeah. Like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you setting yourselves up for failure? Both of them. I would address both of them.
Both.
And I would say, ladies, why you're treating your vagina like a vending machine? Stop. You want to be valued. You're more than your vagina. Stop, you know, doing that to yourselves. Right. So I would address all of it, because right there, when I do that, I'm talking to the addict, the dealer, the porn star. Like, I'm talking to everybody that plays a part in it. So nobody can say I'm picking sides. I'm shooting at everybody indiscriminately. That's part of the problem.
But
That's how you solve
if somebody
solutions.
says I'm picking sides, the only side I'm picking is anti-red pill. I don't think I'm
But see,
picking a
that's
side
the
between
thing. Like,
men and
you're
women at
willing.
all.
That's why I asked you earlier. Are you throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
You're
Because
picking anti-red pill prescriptions, I think is what you're saying. And
Yeah.
that's not fair to what the red pill actually is, which is just information.
I know it's said to be information, but it is no longer being used in that way. It is
Right.
absolutely
But
being
to be
used
accurate in what you're calling is
nefarious.
you're picking on prescriptions out of that information. You're not actually picking on the red pill.
I think if Myron and the whatever podcast and Andrew Tate call themselves red pill and they are prescribing things, then it is inherently red pill.
But those are
what
people.
is your antidote? You said you're the antidote.
Yeah, it's the attraction handbook. What I wrote. It's the antidote that.
Well, we can give us some.
I've basically been talking about it. It's level by level how to build your own self-confidence and self-respect so that you don't need the validation of others and you can build a healthy masculinity that doesn't need to even be told. People can feel you're confident without you telling a single soul. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'd never read your
Amazon?
book. It is, yeah.
Read it.
Yeah, it's 50 pages. It's very short. It's a quick guide. I wanted to give guys a quick, easy thing. It's also audiobook and it's also Kindle. But I just literally was like, to be fair, when I debated Andrew Wilson and I was going on against Red Pill, he said, okay, well, what's your prescription then? What do you recommend men to do? And I didn't have an answer. Again, I was only like 2 months into doing this whenever I debated him, if that. So I wasn't quite like, I didn't expect to be on the level that I got to. But I was like, okay, that's a fair, critique. And I listen to fair critiques. I'm like, okay, I don't have a prescription. How can I call somebody out and not give them, an alternative? So I wrote an alternative, and that was my answer to it. But yes, go ahead.
I want to ask you this because you do talk a lot about confidence and how a man needs to have confidence in the dating world or to get into a relationship. But here's the problem that I have. Let's say a man does everything that you tell him to. Okay. Or he follows your prescription, but he ends up meeting a woman who basically everything he's done tells him it's not enough and that he needs to do more. Okay. Yeah. And you haven't sat there and given any accountability on the woman's side. So he's not hearing what the other side can do to chip away, which we already know women emasculate men all the time. By little things, whether it be you're not doing enough, you're not doing this well enough, I can do it better. Like we know this is happening. So
sure.
If we stress confidence while not adding the accountability factor on both sides, aren't we just breeding more weakness?
I think that's a very fair question. I think in my ideal vision of this, if a man is confident, he has the boundaries that he sets for himself. So if a woman is I don't think you can be emasculated without letting somebody emasculate you. So if somebody says something to me that says, hey, Raph, you're skinny, you don't seem like a buff guy, I'd be like, okay, that doesn't change my opinion of myself, and I'm not going to let you emasculate me. So I think whenever you're confident, you again focus on only what you can control, what somebody else says and the boundaries you set. You can basically say, if you're going to talk to me like this isn't a relationship I'm willing to pursue. This isn't if this is how you're going to treat me, you have the ability to walk away. And a guy that's willing to walk away is a confident guy. A guy who has self-respect is willing to walk away.
I agree. But how is that any different than the red pill praxology? They're telling guys exactly what you just said, basically.
I think the way they tell men to build that self-respect is backwards. I don't think they tell it to build it from the ground up. I think they're basically saying you should be dominant, you should be in control, they should be in your frame and that kind of thing. And I think it's not teaching men how to actually do that. I think it's actually, and if you look at all the women who talk about my guy started listening to Red Pill and I'm gone, my guy started listening to Red Pill and I'm gone. I see so many stories like that. And it's because I think they're approaching it in this way that isn't really fully baked. Basically, it's not a fully, I think you can be confident without being dominant. I think you can be confident and have self-respect without being angry at a woman's preferences or angry at the way she's reacting. If you can't learn how to communicate in a relationship, which I don't think a lot of these red pill guys do, then it's going to be fighting. It's going to be like, oh, you're disturbing my peace. And it's like, if you want peace, don't have a relationship or kids because your peace is gone. Like that's out the window. Like it really needs to be.
Or you're really selling marriage to a lot of men right now.
I'm not trying to sell marriage. I'm not trying to sell marriage. I don't.
What are you doing, man? Why are you telling people to date? What's the point of dating without marriage?
I'm trying to tell the men who want to date today. I know what it's like to be single.
What is the point of dating?
Hopefully companionship, hopefully long-term companionship.
Get a dog.
Do you believe the man is the leader?
I think every relationship is different.
I want to play this video because I think this is actually, and this will probably wrap up shortly after we kind of just critique this video real quick. Because like I just watched this video and I'm just sitting here like, I don't see why are you like dismissing some objective truths here?
Okay.
And to me, I think this is detrimental. Like it's stuff like this is detrimental. Okay. And I understand why you're coming at it, but I just want to say that you have to accept the truth. The truth is the truth regardless. Okay. So let me go ahead and refresh it real quick. And this is, you have a nice haircut in this video, just giving you props.
I appreciate it. That's why I'm wearing a hat because I need another haircut.
That is the only prop I'm giving you.
As a man listens to red pill content. If he talks about the sexual marketplace and says women lose value over 30.
Okay, I'm gonna go one by one. You know what they're talking about when they say that, when they're referring to like reproductive years, right?
Absolutely. But the way these guys talk about it is that once you're over 30, you hit the wall. It's over for you. No one's going to want you.
The wall, you have to understand, like you got to not take the sound bites and run with it and understand what the sound bites are saying.
If you take enough sound bites, you have a full sound sandwich. I've had an entire.
No, I don't have a sound sandwich. I need to break it down.
I've listened to enough of this stuff to know that it's not. I'm not just picking out little things.
But
I've listened to hundreds of hours of red pill stuff.
Can I share just a quick example?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So like, and I should have said this at the beginning of our discussion. Like, I am not like the most red pill guy in the world. Like, this is something I've just actually been learning about the last 2 years as we kind of started our X account in this little project we're doing here. But I had heard, as I'm out here and I'm starting to consume this content and hear it, and I'm hearing them say, she's not yours, it's just your turn. Right. And that to me was like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, that is like, but once I actually kind of stepped back from my initial like gut reaction to that and asked the people who were saying that, what do you mean by that? It made a lot more sense to me. Right. So
what did they say?
They said it's really speaking to men. It's just a mindset for men that if she walks away from you, you're going to be okay. And
what I normally say is she's not yours. It's just your turn, but your turn could last as long as you want it to. Meaning if you're the guy that's putting in the work to nurture that relationship, to play that role in your relationship and to lead it properly, that turn could last a lifetime. Or if you fail to if you drop the ball and you don't do what you need to do, your turn could be like 5 minutes.
Anybody who listens to red pill content and especially is familiar with hypergamy will hear that and say, yes, she's always going to look for the next thing. Also, since men are quote unquote statistically more likely to cheat, why don't we also say the same? If you're not his, it's just your turn. It's the same. I don't understand why that's only put on women when men also leave relationships just as much, if not more.
Well, that's a whole different topic. But like what you were saying right here, is that the wall? Like you're saying, if the women over 30,
that's what they say. Yeah.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Sure.
If I'm 30 and we're just starting a relationship and my childbearing years are ticking, right?
Sure.
Like it's a real thing. And if as a man you want children, if your woman is 30, like you really need to be considering that. It's kind of a fact.
I agree if that's something you're considering. But what I'm saying is that when guys are coming in, like a lot of these guys talk about 30-year-old women that they've been ran through and that they're just settling. And that's part of what these guys are talking about whenever women hit 30. It's not just their reproductive, of course, life cycle, but women still have children at 30. Women still have children at 35. Like those are things that also happen.
Yes, but we are worried about, you have to be concerned at that point with geriatric pregnancies.
You're right, but I'm saying that like it's not necessarily
that should be a concern. If you're like, hey, if you want to have more than one kid, right? Maybe getting with the woman that's 30 years old may not be the best option because if you want to have 2 to 3 kids, the 30-year-old might not be the best. You may even cause that woman complications that could affect her health.
That's not what they're talking about in a sexual marketplace. They're talking about a sexual marketplace.
Yes, sexual marketplace. Can this woman provide me the amount of offspring that I would want to have? So women's value goes down. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, do her reproductive years go down? Yes. Does her value go down? No. Her reproductive value goes down. Yeah.
Right.
But they're not talking about the reproductive value. They say
That's part of the
you're what
sexual marketplace, though. That's
Well,
the
again,
part of
what is the goal? If the goal is marriage, it's 100% true statement. If the goal is
Yeah.
marriage with kids, it's a very true statement.
It's also a very true statement that if a guy asks that question, he probably listens to Red Pill.
But
it doesn't mean it's a negative. The way that you're framing it is you're doing just as what Rolo does with hypergamy. You're framing it in a negative, though. Because
I'm framing it as if you don't want to date a red pill guy, which women asked me to make this video. They said, how can I tell if a guy's red pill? I was like, okay, these are the things they bring up. So here's the things you need to be aware of. That's all I'm doing.
But again, this is a true statement that is being framed as something detrimental.
Asking someone your body count is also a true statement, but that is also a sign you listen to red pill. But I'm saying it's a true. I'm not saying these are false or these aren't things to consider. If a guy really cares about someone's body count, fine. But if he asks that question, he's probably listening to red pill.
What's the point in pointing out to women that a man listens to red pill for them to steer clear of it?
Women don't want to date red pill guys, and sometimes they don't find out until late. And so they've asked me constantly, are there any things I can ask, or are there any things they say on the first date that might give me a sign to listen to red pill, so I know to just cut it off?
Because they have a false narrative of actually what it means to date someone who's red pill.
I think you should ask women who have dated red pill what their experience is like.
True red pill. Okay, guys that study red pill praxeology are not going to tell women that they are red pill. First off, okay, men who are
that's why they need signs.
Well, and here's another thing: are we going to deny the fact that women are kicking marriage and children down the road? Are we gonna? We cannot deny that women are getting married later and later in life. Why? Because we're telling women that their sexual agency is evergreen, and it's not. We have to discuss these things.
I'm not saying you don't, but I'm telling women is if they don't want to date a red pill guy, these are the signs to look for. They're not going to tell you straight up. They're not going to tell you, hey, yeah, no, I listen to Myron Gaines, or I listen to Rolo, or I listen, they're not going to say those things. And a lot of women don't even know who those guys are.
But if you're not saying, like, why wouldn't we also say to women, hey, if this is the life that you want, like down the road, if you're waiting to 35 to have kids, there's potential complications with that. And by the way, I can just tell you, as a 52-year-old dude, I'm 52. Super glad I don't have a 12-year-old at home right now.
52, way to go, man.
But this is what I have a problem with. Is like this is a true statement. It has nothing to do with red pill or anything. This is kind of common sense. If you're a guy that wants to have, several kids, getting with somebody that's in her 30s and expecting her to be able to not have any complications during pregnancy, not risking her health, it's not wise to do that. You're better off getting with somebody a lot younger. That doesn't mean that you're red-pilled. You could be setting women up for dismissing a lot of guys who just use common sense.
Also, I want to know why women are coming to you saying, can you tell me how not to be with red pill? Because if a woman said that to me, the first thing I would say to her is, why is that? What bothers you about what's being said? I would find out what bothers them. Maybe, and this is just me saying this, it's in my opinion, but maybe they're coming to you asking these questions because you are so much talking about red pills bad, red pills bad. We shouldn't be focusing on red pill bad. We should be focusing on what men and women are doing wrong and how that's affecting relationships.
I ask women on the street, would you date somebody who listens to Andrew Tate, who is the most household red pill name out there? And 99% say no. And I don't talk to these women otherwise.
So that's a sign that women, I'm sorry, are brainwashed, because literally almost everything that he says when it comes down to real world scenarios is not, he actually says a lot of truth. Now, what he does in his own personal life, that's on him. I'm not going to judge what he does in his personal life, but what he's saying about what's going on in our world, men and women, it's very, very true.
Even if it is, women see him as a red flag, and it's not because I don't think they're brainwashed. I think he says a lot of inflammatory stuff that it's very easy to see why people don't like him, including women. And that's why women don't want to date red pill guys. How will they know if somebody listens to Andrew Tate? They might say things like this. That's
so my question is like, so are you trying to help women get with guys that avoid the truth and will be willing to be walked all over? Are you trying to help women get, in relationships that they could capitalize on guys? Or are you trying to help guys get into healthy relationships and be sustained in relationships. I'm trying to figure this out because I don't know which side are you working on, because I'm trying to work on both and say I want happy marriages. I want to see the nuclear family. I want to see kids being raised in this, the family together again. It's not red pill, blue pill, any side. It is, I'm on the side of the family. It's a side of success. And it seems like if that means you are saying like you're going to go all against red pill, well, that means then you're throwing out part of the equation and part of the solution at the same time.
I don't think so, because again, I have an alternative that I think takes the kind of good things about the red pill and paints them in a non-misogynistic, blaming kind of way, which is what a lot of the men who listen to this stuff end up coming away with. They come away with anger. I can't tell you how many of the guys that have come to me have said, yeah, I started to get angry with women. I started to become angry with women. And that is what a lot of the red pill content actually leads to these young men feeling. And because of that...
Let me get back to the video because I want to play because we're running through it real quick. I just want to play it a couple more clips that you have on here.
Okay.
And because that's not the age thing wasn't just the first one, but it was the first one that I saw. I'm like, oh God, here we go.
If he asks, what do you bring to the table? Or he thinks men are the prize. If he calls himself a high value man, if he talks about women needing to be submissive, if he keeps mentioning alpha and beta males, if he quotes or defends Andrew Tate, Rollo Tomasi, Myron Gaines, or Fresh and Fit, if he says feminism ruined dating or even society, if he complains that modern women just want too much, if he throws around words like hypergamy.
All right, I think we kind of got the gist of it, right? I think there's enough there to go off of. Gia, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, when you say like, what men say, what do they bring to the table, right? Let me ask you this. Let's say you didn't have a penis, all right? You're just born that way, and you had no
you have
penis.
the detachable penis song queued up?
All men had no penises, but we had the same abilities, our strength, everything. Men would build everything just like we did, and we couldn't reproduce. There's no reproduction. Would you have any use for women?
If I couldn't have sex with them?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ideally as a friend, if I like having companions, if I like having people around, yeah. Like,
well, what is it you appreciate about female energy? Maybe that's a different way of asking it. So if you're going to have friends just for the sake of having friends and not sex, is that male energy or female energy you want around?
I mean, I love having mostly male friends. Most of my friends are male, but I'm saying that like if I was living in a world where men and women weren't having sex, what use would I have for women? It's probably the same use I have for anyone else. Like, are they somebody in my life that I like being around?
You wouldn't marry them, right? You wouldn't invest yourself in a relationship with them. There wouldn't be because it's like, no, you could cook for yourself. Yeah. You could build your own house. You could, fix on your own car. You would earn your own, you could fold your own clothes. You could do your own laundry. So the only thing that women would be able to provide you would be sex and your children if you had a penis.
No, I do think companionship is a big part of what a marriage is. I think a lot of people, I think sex is a small part of
sex is a huge part.
Wrong.
It's a part of it's certainly a big part, but I'm saying
it's the most important part.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree that sex is the most important part.
Sex is the glue that holds relationships together.
Yeah.
Sure, but if sex is the only thing you have, are you going to stay together? If sex is the only thing you have, are you going to stay together?
No. I said sex is the glue.
I know, but I'm asking hypothetically, if the sex is great, but everything else sucks, are you going to stay with that person?
You're willing to put up with it and work through it a lot more.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. It's improbable that the sex would be really awesome and everything else would suck.
I've had a lot of great sex with bad people, so I don't know.
But were you married to that person?
No, but I'm saying if you married that person, it wasn't just because of the sex. You married,
but you're not with them anymore.
List of other reasons why you married them, and that's 99% of your day is spent not having sex. So
see, this is like you're taking
maybe some of you guys. Mine's like maybe more like 95.
95%. You're spending 5% of your day at 52.
Hey,
52 is not old.
TRT's
know, but that's awesome.
That's awesome. Like, hold on.
Back it down. Back it down.
We hear the same trope from like the trad cons. Sex is not that important in a relationship. right? But then guess what? Their husbands are watching porn and beating their meat, right? You know, so
Even
we know
guys who
that
get sex watch
porn
and beat their meat. Even guys who get sex cheat. Like guys
No,
guys can be
look,
sexed up and still cheat. That is
no,
not
a guy that's well fucked is not seeking it. He has time to focus on his mission. He's not even.
Then when I was
if he has
single,
balls
why was I
drained,
sleeping with women back to back? If I was just so happy with the sex I just had, why would I go out and find another one?
Maybe it was because you're needing some self or external validation. I don't know.
I just liked having sex with good-looking women.
There's a huge difference between having great sex, casual sex, and not having anything else with them, right? No commitment, no relationship, versus being in a committed relationship with somebody with great sex. So when you say, okay, yes, you can have great sex and nothing else, these were casual relationships. Obviously, you didn't see anything else there to get into a committed relationship.
Right.
So many reasons why men are even going to consider a commitment with a relationship with a woman is because there was great sex. That's what connected them first, and then they want to see all the other great qualities that come with it. Right.
I agree.
So I think we have to discern those two.
I agree. I just don't think that again, if you don't spend more than 10% of your time having sex, then there's 90% of your relationship that's seemingly more important. That's all.
Yeah, but in a casual relationship where it's just great sex, you usually, you might have one or two times and that's it. You're not gonna, you probably find somebody else, or you're dating several people at the same time. In a committed relationship, that great sex is very important. It is what keeps the relationship.
Well, my last relationship, before my wife, we was basically just sex. Like we were together, we knew it wasn't gonna last, but we stayed together because the sex was like enjoyable enough.
That's a false dichotomy. You're pointing to the extreme. You're making it say it was just all about sex.
No. We were boyfriend and girlfriend, but I'm saying that like when I look at why we stayed together, it was the sex. Like when we did a post analysis, like we talked on the phone after, and we were like, why did we stay together? And I was like, well, personally, I thought the sex was great. She was like, yeah, that's probably why I stayed too.
What was, like, if you could name two things, what was the two things that you decided that there wasn't anything more than sex there? What were those things or boundaries that were crossed, basically?
I personally, it's not even like, no, we treated each other well. It's more like compatibility. It's like literally, do we laugh at the similar things? Are we able to have communication clearly? Are we able to like even just look at each other without saying a word because we're communicating, we're on the same page? We were kind of like disconnected in some ways, but the sex was great. But I always felt like something was off. And also she was 23, I was 28. So there was like some age things. I didn't know where things were going to go. There's a million reasons.
A comment that I feel like I just want to interject here is too, like when we've been together a long time, right? So, when we were in our 20s, I said the sex was awesome. It was great, right? It was like great sex back then. But now kind of where we are now, the sex is like, I didn't even realize how good sex could be. Mm-hmm. So I think there is a little bit of like, we're all kind of like, it's a subjective thing in a way, right? The sex is only as good as the sex
Yeah. And also you got to figure like, the sex when you're younger, when you're humping like rabbits in a relationship, you're married and you're humping like rabbits, that's going to like that's going to pay up for the years when you're in your diapers and you guys are just sitting there holding hands. Like you're not able to hump like rabbits. Like it's the work that you put in now in your relationship is going to help secure that future in that relationship. So yes, sex is the glue and the foundation. So if you're not saying sex isn't a priority in a relationship, then you're setting these relationships up for failure, right? So I wanted to point that out. Like sex is important, and it's important that your wife desires you, and it's important that you help facilitate that desire for her that she has for you. Because if you let yourself go, if you stop doing what you were doing before you said I do, you're setting yourself up for failure. So sex is important. The next one was, like you said, if you said a woman needs to be submissive, what do you have a problem with leadership?
No, I just have a problem with saying you should submit to me like within the first few dates.
Well, I think that's stupid. Yeah, I think nobody should submit to somebody in the first few dates.
But who's saying that? Who's saying that?
I'm saying if a guy says that, he probably listens to Red Pill, or he's maybe religious.
But is it wrong if you're moving towards marriage? Is submission wrong?
If people agree that that's what they want in marriage, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I think you'll find that most modern women don't want that.
So let me ask you this. So let's say like I'm dating somebody, right? And they're like, or I'm seeing somebody casually, right? And they're like, so what are we? Oh, we're friends. Well, what do I got to be to your girlfriend? I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to be with somebody that I would be with. Is going to be someone that's going to defer authority to me, because that's just how I look at it. These are my boundaries. Should I need to negotiate with her?
But
also, I don't want to.
No,
But
if she doesn't want to do
modern-
it, then she doesn't want to do it. And
if
if
most
you
modern
don't want to
women-
date somebody who doesn't, then don't.
If
Okay.
most modern women don't want to submit, right? You said
Mhm.
most modern women don't want any of these things. They don't want to submit. They don't want a man saying, XYZ, everything that they do. Then basically you are confirming that the majority of modern women are not worth a commitment. That's what I hear.
I don't.
Because
I think you can have a partnership that has nothing to do with submission or leadership.
here we
God,
go
you
with the
said
partnership.
partner.
Oh, partnership.
I think I think a lot of modern women, myself included, if way back then was modern, when we started dating, I was working, as a lot of women are. When you start dating, they are working, and I thought to myself, oh, I never want to not have a job.
Mhm.
But then the more you date and the more you live together and the more you mature, you realize, I mean, life could be so much better if Rob was just in control and I was just existing in his sphere.
Hmm.
And so I
because
think
a
like,
woman wants to fall into a man. She wants to know that he has her, like he has his arm around her, he's protecting her, he's taking care of her environment. That's a natural instinct.
yeah,
All
each
that
little
has
thing
nothing
that
to do
they,
with submission, though.
but
It
each
does.
little
It
thing that they
absolutely
take
does.
off your plate, you realize how much more relaxed you can be. We were just talking about finances, and again, when we were younger, we both worked and we were trying to figure things out, and it would be like, well, I'm busy, you pay the bills this month, or you're busy, like I'll pay the bills this month. And then it wasn't going well. And then Rob said, I'm paying the bills and I'm just telling you how much money you have. And I was like, okay, wow, this is some freedom that I didn't know existed, and I love it.
That's good.
So I
When
think
you-
like when you start, you don't like, you have these ideals, but it's because you've never experienced what's beyond that.
And when you say that leaning on a man or falling into his arms has nothing to do with submission, how can you say that? Because actually, in all fairness, think about it like this: if you were under the protection of somebody, okay, like we know that our rights, our privileges that we live in America is under the enforcement of male authority. Okay. If we step outside of something, who are we going to depend on to come protect us? You see, this is another thing that feminists don't want to take into account. So that's why when you deal with women who say, I don't want to submit, what they're honestly telling you is, hey, I want all the freedom. I want all the privileges. I want all the rights, but I do not need to listen. I do not need to take anybody's authority. I don't need to basically obey any rules. So now how do you keep any accountability? And now we're back down to the whole discussion of how are we keeping women accountable?
Because you have boundaries in a relationship, and you have.
How do you have boundaries if you don't have submission? It goes hand in hand.
What do you mean? So if I tell somebody, hey, don't wear that jacket out, you can't wear it, and they wear it anyway,
No.
there's a boundary clause, right?
This is not about a jacket.
Then what is it about?
You're talking about what you're framing it is about control, right? You just did right there, Rafael.
Yeah.
That's control. That's controlling. That's
I understand.
a big difference.
I understand. So I would like her to elaborate more on that.
So
notion.
let's say you asked your girlfriend, hey, you know what? I'd rather you not go out to girls' night. I don't want to see you go out to girls' night. Okay.
Right.
A man isn't going to say and sit down and give all the details of why. He just knows that there's a possibility she's not going to like a little restaurant by herself with the girls and having a drink. No, she's going in the midst of literal predators, right? A nightclub, tons of guys there to hit on her, and he can't protect her.
Right.
And if she goes ahead and she tells him, you know what, no, I'm going to do what I want. You can't tell me what to do. She heads out the door. She's wearing something that's going to draw attention. Okay. She doesn't just get hit on. Maybe something happens to her. Maybe she gets raped.
Yeah. Or she cheats or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, whatever. And then who's responsible? Who ends up becoming, now she gets said, everyone turns her into the victim. Oh, she was the victim in it, right? But who's the responsible party? He ends up becoming responsible.
No, what I'm saying is in terms of accountability is if somebody crosses my boundaries, the only card I have to play is I'm willing to walk away. That's accountability. That's the consequences for you crossing a boundary. There is no control or submission in that scenario. It's still, I have a boundary. If you cross it and you are aware of that boundary, if you cross it, then these are
which
the
works really awesome
But-
in a dating world and not so much in the marriage world.
Why not?
Yeah, it's really hard. You could enforce your boundaries once you're in a marriage because you have so much invested and tied into each other.
Even if you enforce boundaries, submission is necessary. It is.
Yep.
It is literally part of our role. We have to have somebody who is looking out for our best interests and guiding us. Women need it and they want it as much
I understand,
as they fight it.
but the only thing you can do is give somebody that advice, and then they can do what they want with it. You can't control them. I can't forcibly restrain her from doing something. I can tell her these are the things that I have issue with, and if she continues to cross those boundaries, then the only card you ever are going to have is to walk away. That's the only accountability you're going to have.
Okay.
So it's the same thing.
So let me ask you something. Everything that you're saying, I agree. But at the same time, any woman who's going to sit there and tell you straight out, I'm not going to ever submit. This is a woman who will never listen to any guidance.
My wife
she's
listens
letting
to me
you know
all the time.
Yeah, but let me ask you something. When you met her, did she have a problem with the word submission?
That word never came up. That word never even came up into my lexicon until I started watching Red Pill stuff. Then all of a sudden, it's like everyone's talking about submission. Like my mom submitted to my dad 100%. Like that is 100. But that word never came up. That's not something that I knew of growing up. That's not something I was ever aware of. But she also had no economic viability and depended on my dad 100%.
And that solidifies the point. The majority of modern women today are not marriage material.
No, I would not want my parents' marriage for anything. Not for $1 million would I want my parents' marriage, because my mom had no other choice but to stay with a man that didn't treat her that well. And so that's not something I'm interested in.
But how does that have anything to do with her role and how she takes authority?
Role is like something I don't think you're born with a role. I think you and a person can come into a relationship and decide what your roles are going to be. I think every relationship can be different.
You don't think there's gender norms?
Not necessarily when it comes to like relationships, like a husband and wife. I think they can do whatever they want.
Do you believe in male and female nature?
To a point, yes.
Have you ever done any studies on brain scans?
I mean, no, I've never done my own brain scans, no, but I'm sure I've read enough about female nature from Rollo and things like that.
If you and your wife disagree on a financial decision, who makes the final call?
We either come to some kind of agreement, just like Congress. I mean, if Congress doesn't agree, someone has
to. That's
not
the reality.
It's my reality.
It's not the reality, because sometimes there's no common ground to be found, and so somebody has to make a decision.
Like what? Give me an example of how that's happened for you guys. I'd love to hear it, because I can't think of one.
Let me point something out. Like, this is funny. So as of this year, 2025 poll found out 79% of Republican women support the return to traditional gender roles, compared to 21% of Democratic women.
Yeah, but if you look at the breakdown of women, how many of them are Republican? How many are? I mean, liberals are. I mean, the women and liberals is just crazy.
But I'm also pointing out that the decline in marriage. 34% of women say the decline in marriage is due to egalitarian relationships. So, I mean, you're seeing this. That has nothing to do with, I think what it is like women want the sense of having this autonomy. They want to be able to make decisions for themselves. They don't want to feel controlled, and I think that's great. But they also want the structure and the security that a man leading the relationship offers. Because it's like, look, this is my relationship box. You can do whatever you want in that relationship. Go drive yourself crazy in this relationship box. So you step outside that relationship box, we're no longer in a relationship. There's no conversation.
But that describes my relationship too. But that describes my relationship too. And there's no official submission and official leader.
There's submission, because I'm the one that established that relationship box. I put the boundaries there.
She has her own boundaries too. If you do something that you don't like, but if you do something she doesn't like, she could leave too. That's her boundaries.
Absolutely. But I'm the one that established the relationship. I said, look, if you want to be in a relationship with me, you got to be within this box. If you can't do that, that's fine. Go about your life. I wish you the best.
I asked her, what kind of life do you want to build together? And we figured out what we wanted, and that's what we did.
Is there any successful company that doesn't have a CEO?
I'm sure there are successful business partnerships that are successful.
But there's still someone that has the final say at the end.
Not in 50-50 business partnerships.
No, always. There's always somebody that has 51-49. Always
Not
somebody
always.
has the majority.
Can there be two drivers in a car?
No, but someone can give
There can only
directions.
be one driver.
Yeah, one person can be in the steering wheel, another person can give directions and play with the radio.
The
Like,
driver
there's all kinds of
still
stuff.
has to listen to the person giving the directions. They have a choice. They actually drive the car.
Yeah, but can't the other person drive sometimes too? My wife drives, I drive.
Sure, but who gets to determine that?
It's not like we have an argument about who's going to drive.
not about
Sometimes it's like,
arguing.
hey, I had a
You're
drink
missing-
earlier. You drive, and
I'm going to encourage you to do some work on just research male and female's brains, like how they function. Okay. Look how they fire. Look how they work. Okay. Once you understand that, now I want you to also look up the books that show why men and women, when they work together, why they work so well. Okay. There are absolutely, without a doubt, once you do this, you will know there are roles, and women and men work better in structure. And that's why when I say there can only be one driver in the car, if somebody else is on the passenger side, and we all know, because we've all been through this, right? We've all driven a car and there's the backseat driver. How does that work for anybody? It doesn't work.
you're right. But sometimes you're driving, you're like, hey, I don't know where we're going. Can you plug in the phone and put us in where we need to go? Like, to me,
That's
the
fine.
driver.
That's your wife being your helpmate.
Yeah,
That's
exactly
my
what
wife
it is.
being a co-pilot. In an airplane, there's a
helpmate.
pilot and a co-pilot. Like, it's that you're both working together for the same goal. Maybe one person's sitting in a different seat, and then sometimes you swap. But
and what
at the
does a
same time, you're
co-pilot
both
do,
working
though?
the same thing.
Let me
Sometimes it
ask you
steps
this.
in for the pilot.
What does the co-pilot? When do they do that?
If the
When
pilot
the pilot says, "Hey, take the helm or take controls," right? It's after the command or the order given to do so. It's yes, they're capable. They
what
can
I
do
don't
it.
what I don't understand is why none of my relationships have been built on submission. They've all been pretty good.
Well,
And my
can I-
current relationship
ask
is
you a
really good.
personal
I don't know
question?
why that would why all of a sudden it's like, you know what, honey, you should submit to me. This isn't working.
No,
anymore.
it's not like you're not cognitively looking at like, oh, does this woman submit to me, right? But it's like, is she able to trust me and follow my leadership? Like, does she
Trust and
constantly
respect.
like? It has a lot to do with trust because. At the end of the day, men always have the responsibility to act, whether it's your fault or not, whether your wife cheated on you or she didn't. If she did, you still have the responsibility to decide, am I staying in this relationship or am I going to fix it or am I going to leave? That's the responsibility to act. So you're always going to have responsibility at the end of the day. So if you don't take that understanding that you're still going to have to answer to this, you're still going to have to do something about it, whether it's your fault or not, that's leadership.
That's your own boundary. That's your own boundary. Like that is still the same boundary we're talking about. If she does something that I don't agree with, and she knows I don't agree with it, then I can walk away.
Yeah, you could, but if she says no, I don't want you to walk away. Please, you still have to make the decision. That's leadership.
But that has nothing. That's your own personal agency. That's not
But
leadership
it's
because
more-
she's still
but
doing what she
again-
wants to do.
Again, it's more complicated than you're giving her credit to, especially in marriage. And now you got kids, right?
Well,
So
we don't,
you've got
but yeah.
you've got kids, right? You've got responsibilities beyond just your relationship. And now, you tell your wife, hey, like to Gia's example, yeah, I don't think it's a good idea if you'd go out to the bar and go drinking with the girls. And she says, fuck you, I'm going. Now what?
Well, isn't that an option in submission and without submission? Isn't that always on the table?
Well, a wife
Isn't
who
it-
submits is going to say, I really wanted to do that thing.
And a
but
wife
I'm
who
not going
accepts
to.
her roles, and a wife that accepts her roles. So this is not, it's not about, we have to understand that if women are coming to you and immediately telling you that I'm not going to submit in a relationship, that is a signal for you to know that these are not women who want to be in healthy relationships.
I
It's
disagree.
not a signal. Yeah, and I disagree as well. So as somebody who's been married 25 years, and this, Avis and Rob married 30 years, there is a woman who naturally takes this and understands it, is somebody who wants to work with her man. She's a person who trusts his role. She respects the roles he has in the relationship. And women who continue to disrespect that role are not going to be in healthy relationships. And you can see this everywhere, because why are men and women having such a hard time trusting each other? And that's a good question for you. I want you to tell me your version of how men and women can actually rebuild trust in the relationship. What is your version of it?
Well, if you look at what's happening with anyone under 30, 32% of men under 30 are in relationships versus 64% of women. Those women, theoretically, are dating older men. Younger men are not dating. And a lot of that has to do, in my opinion, with these guys listening to Red Pill and going on dates and asking women if they'll submit to them. Something that would have never come up in a date. Something that would have never come up in a date 5-6 years ago. That is not something that was constantly coming up.
I mean, I haven't dated in more than 30 years, but I mean, is this a legitimate? We're going out to dinner, and the first question is, will you submit? Like, I just don't see it, right?
Yes.
Look,
political disagreements are coming up in the beginning. Like, those things are separating people right away. And a lot of the people who are on the conservative side are the ones talking about submission. And a lot of the women who are liberal are not talking about submission. And I don't think women come into the date saying, I'm not going to submit. I think they come into the date and the guy talks about submission and the girl's like, that's not what I'm looking for.
What is he saying? I like traditional.
Yeah. I mean, you can keep playing the video. Anything that they say in those things, and those are signs that men are in red pill. And like another woman.
What's wrong with a guy saying he's looking for a traditional life?
Nothing.
Why shouldn't I say that on date one? I don't want to waste any time with you.
But nothing. But I'm telling you, I agree. I think you should put it all on the table. I'm conservative. I'm looking for traditional. I'm saying most of the women you're going to talk to aren't going to go for that.
No man who is practicing. No man who practices what he preaches is going to sit down on a date and tell a woman, you need to submit. I've never seen that in my entire life. Okay. So let's be real here. What's happening is women are automatically going, I refuse, I reject to submit. They're doing that to themselves.
They're not coming out and offering that information. I'm telling you, women aren't thinking about submission when they're thinking about relationships.
I have spoken to enough women to know the only women who have a problem with that word are single mothers, women who cannot keep relationships, have tattoos all over. They are feminists, like full-born feminists. Okay?
Most modern women are feminists.
And do you not think that feminism? So let me just ask this question: do you think feminism is not a problem? Because that's one of the other statements that you said, that feminism hasn't played a downfall, hasn't played a negative impact to society. You don't think it has?
It's if they blame dating and the fall of society on feminism, that's a sign to listen to Red Pill. That's what I said.
But do you believe that is that a false statement or a true statement?
No, I don't think they've ruined dating, and I don't think they've ruined society. Absolutely not.
Really?
Yes.
Avis is gonna fall out of her chair. You all right? Don't fall out.
Yes, I absolutely think giving women the right to vote and open their bank accounts and go get their own jobs, I don't think that's ruined society.
I would give up my right to vote.
Yeah, I don't think most women would.
I actually vote how Rob tells me to vote.
I get 2 votes. You know that? Every election, I get 2.
Me and my wife do too, and we just happen to agree.
Oh.
I have never voted a day in my life until my husband told me that he needed my help. I have never gotten involved in it.
Yeah.
Well, most modern women vote, and most modern women vote a certain way.
Let me point this out, right? When you are in a relationship, like let's say these guys dating and they're thinking about marriage. If I'm dating a woman and I'm not seeing the qualities that I think that are necessary for a secure relationship, would be, you don't even have to use the word submission. You can say deference. Does she defer to my authority? Does she trust my leadership? Is she following my lead? Or is she constantly, trying to argue with me or trying to negotiate or trying to get someone else to be the authority over, to decision making? Like we see that even with traditional conservative wives, these trad cons, what they do is that they don't like what their husband says. So they'll just say, screw my husband. I'm going to go to my pastor and have him supersede my husband's authority, right? That right there is a recipe for failure in the relationship moving forward. Because you must admit that someone has to submit. A wife's deference to her husband's authority is actually probably necessary and beneficial to the success of a long-term relationship.
No, I think going to a third party to use that as whatever ruling you think you're going to get, that's
to
the
the third
issue.
party.
I'm saying that's the issue I have.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the issue I have with what you're saying, but that has nothing to do with deference to the husband.
I want to backtrack. So I just want to make sure I heard this clear. You said that the reason why men and women are not trusting each other currently in today's society,
especially young,
is because of red pill.
I think that my suspicion is it's a combination of things. It's kind of like a cauldron of things that have happened. We become more chronically online. COVID exacerbated that, and men started consuming more red pills. So they lost social skills, and they're being told the complete wrong thing.
But hold up. Isn't that another form of victim blaming? Why are we pointing fingers?
I'm not pointing fingers. I'm saying these are the things that have caused this. That's it. I'm not pointing fingers.
But you just said that the reason why men and women don't trust each other is because it's a product of red pill. That's literally saying that men who are adopting the red pill praxeology is ruining trust between men and women. That completely ignores all the other facts, like women pushing marriage down the road, women choosing careers over relationships. You know, why are we talking about these things?
But but again, 64% of women under 30, the vast majority are in relationships. So they still have some sort of value in relationships versus the young men who are single.
Well, you gotta understand
it's the biggest gap that has ever existed at that age range ever.
You have to understand that term relationships is loosely, because they will consider sugaring is a relationship.
Yeah. What about
this?
The fact
I think
that
the study
men are living at home with their mothers. Like, we have to also take into account that a lot of these men are being enabled by their parents. Like, what about single mothers and how they're treating their young boys? Doesn't this have anything else to do with why relationships are struggling? Like, it doesn't have to do with red pill. I'm sorry.
It has to do, I said social skills is another part of it. If they're just staying in their mom's basement playing Fortnite, eating Cheetos, of course they're not going to be able to talk to
you know what, with the same statistic, I could flip that around and be like, you know what? The majority of men under 30 are not in relationships is due to women adopting feminism and no longer making themselves and to the average male's eyes marriageable.
Okay,
so I mean, we could flip the same thing. You could blame it on red pill, and I could also flip it and blame it on feminism, because women are being different too. They're not
but women are finding relationships while these young men aren't.
And older men who can provide soul.
But dual income again, they're not getting soul income. We already established it's a very small percentage of people who are doing soul income now.
Why are we taking? But what about all these women splitting plates? Like, I know for a fact that these women are speaking to 4 or 5 guys at once. Okay,
the Pew Research study I'm referencing is about people in a committed relationship. The Pew Research study that I'm referencing
I would love to see that.
You have to bring those stats. But I want to say this though, like, because this is about stats. Stats don't mean shit. Okay, because I could frame a stat to mean whatever I want it to mean. For example, here's a perfect example. Did you know that the majority of false allegations are made in family court? And guess what? The majority of the time, it's by women. That's why it used to be called malicious mother syndrome, statistically 67%. But if I would have told you that if a guy was well off, financially well off, and he went in there and made some false accusations, he is more likely to be believed 10 to 1 times. Okay, so if he presents himself, he's well off, he has money, he is more likely to be believed over the false allegations over his wife or his ex-wife. So although women tend to make more false allegations in family court, but when it comes to success, if the guy is well off, he tends to win over when he makes false allegations. So it's like that statistic make it seem like women are the ones who are always, successful with false allegations in family court. But it's not true.
I'm gonna say why I believe the trust is being ruined between men and women. Okay, and I have talked to enough men and young men. I'm saying like 20, 22, that are either in roommate situations, or they're living still like a grandparent, or are still in a parent's home. They're dating women, and they don't trust women because every single time there's any issue or any struggle, she immediately ghosts them. She dates the other 4 guys she's talking to. She's spinning plates. And then anytime they try to have any real conversations with anything, she reverts to liberal left ideology. Okay, so it's like everything is gaslighting. Anything that he brings up that's truth, she tells him he's the wrong one. This is why trust is breaking down. Trust is breaking down because both men and women don't want to take on the roles that are actually innate and natural for us. We're fighting against our own nature.
When I was dating 8-10 years ago, women were also dating multiple people. I definitely was not the only person women were dating. We decided to be monogamous. If we decided to be monogamous, that's not new. I think what's happening now is that these men don't have the social skills. And yes, there is a political divide that is happening for sure. But 45% of men under 30, or I think it's under 30, have never asked a woman out in person, which is something that none of our generation would even say. And I'd also say I had plenty of girlfriends when I had roommates. I had plenty of girlfriends when I made no money. I've had plenty of girlfriends when I was in college. None of that affected whether or not I had a girlfriend or not.
Let me point out like the biggest problem I see with your argument here. you are not willing to look at the other side and see what is detrimental about the other side. And you're saying it's all red pill. And I can't ever take somebody that says
And
it's
social
all
skills.
this is the problem.
Social skill.
It's
I said a
always-
cauldron. I
hold
said
on,
a
hold on. Let me
cauldron.
finish. No, let me finish, because if you can't say that there's any negative attributes for that feminism has led or that has played a role in, right? That's contributing to this negativity in relationships or lack of trust, right? Or lack of relationship development, then that's problematic. You're saying red pill is the reason why guys are not dating, or red pills. No, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. All right. You have a lot of failure to launch for men, but you also have women that are not willing to be. I think women lost femininity, in all honesty. I don't think women know how to be feminine
They're
anymore.
they're rejecting our nature because our society is telling us be more like men. That's why.
But I don't think that's why these young guys are single.
That we want.
These young guys aren't single because women aren't feminine anymore, because they're obviously still finding some sort of partner. They're finding some partners. These young women are finding older partners. So it's not because they're not feminine anymore. They're still finding partners who like them for whatever it is. Maybe men like masculine women now, but I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of these guys would date a lot of these women if they were given the choice.
As long as they're female, like as long as their sexual agency, is there, like they're under the age of, they're always going to find men that are going to be interested. Whether they want them for anything more than sex, that's a whole nother question.
Well, like I said, 64% of these young women are in relationships, and 56% of all men are in relationships. So obviously women are finding these guys are finding them. It's happening. Do I think the split is happening politically? Yes. Do I think COVID had a big part to play in it? Yes. Do I think we're not going out and being social as much anymore? Yes. I think all of these things play a big factor.
But you won't
and
say
something
feminism.
that I think no, I don't think it's feminism. What I do think is causing an issue. It's not feminism. I'll tell you what, here are some things that I think women are causing some of the dating market to be harder as well, is that I do think they have an idea of how many options they have. And a lot of times they don't necessarily have as many options as they think. So they probably put off good dudes often because they think something better is around the corner. And I think dating apps are a big reason for that. So I think that's something. I think there's unrealistic standards that women have. I think they believe that all guys are going to be above 6 foot. I think it's stuff they're seeing online. I think they're seeing that I want a 6 foot guy, and it's like, okay, that's 14%. What do you think is going to happen after that? Like, there's not that many options available.
Okay, so great. We're getting somewhere because you just admitted a lot of truth. That this is the kind of stuff that I would encourage you to put in your videos.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how that's going to help men. If I tell men that women have high standards, that they have too high of a standard.
Let me ask you this. Do you agree that the enabling has to stop?
Enabling of what?
The enabling of bad behavior.
In general? I guess, but I'm not. The only bad behavior I'm calling out is red pill grifters. I don't
know that's you yourself are contributing to the bad behavior, my friend.
I don't think so. I don't see that at all. I don't see how I'm contributing to bad behavior.
Let me ask you this. So if I'm only yelling at you for doing something wrong, but I'm never acknowledging Rob when he's doing something wrong, but I'm only coming at you like saying you're the problem. You are the problem. You are the piece of shit. You're the problem. And Rob's doing the same thing, if not worse than you. What are you going to listen to me? You can be like, fuck you, dude. Like, look at him. He's doing shit too. Why don't you call us both out? You're part of the problem.
I'm calling out the guys that are leading men down the wrong path, and they're doing it on purpose. And that's all. I'm not calling out the men who listen to Red Pill. I'm calling out the men who drove them to that, and the men who are driving these men to bad outcomes that are statistically proven.
By you not warning men, by you not helping men to know what to look out for, you are driving them down the wrong road.
If I tell men to build self-confidence and self-respect, they don't need to worry about 99% of the things you guys are talking about.
If you're building self-confidence and self-respect, what does that do about helping you learn red flags and what type of women to stay away from and behaviors to look for to actually find a woman to commit to? Like, you're not helping them like to select a good woman. You're just helping them get out there and go have fun. Like,
yeah, because I'm not gonna say, because you Gia counted tattooed women out. Maybe some guys like tattooed women. For me to say, hey, don't date tattooed women, avoid women with septum rings, I'm not gonna tell them that because they might like them and that person might be a good person. But this prescription that a lot of guys say avoid, I tell men, if a woman's unkind, if she's antagonistic, if she, I forget what other attributes I list, but if these are things that they're doing and they're not, it's not somebody you want to be around, don't date that person. Like, there are things, individual attributes, but I don't think there's like some broad umbrella I can say, avoid all these kinds of women. I won't tell a guy to avoid a single woman. Andrew Wilson married a single mother. Like, I'm not going to tell men to avoid single mothers if there's a good relationship to be had in there. Some men marry single mothers and it's fine.
What to avoid, but you're not telling them what to look out for either.
I tell men to build self-confidence in their own boundaries, and whatever it is going to work for them. Everyone has different characteristics they're looking for. Everyone has, like, some people don't care about body count. Some people do.
But let me ask you this. Do you think a woman that says that the reason why none of her relationships worked out is always because of the guy?
Yeah, that's bad. That's a red flag. That's a red flag.
Why don't you tell guys to look out for that?
I'm sure I do. I'm sure I do in my book. That's what I'm saying. I'm sure that's in my attributes that I list.
You have not once pointed out one thing when you're telling guys whether getting out there to go dating, what to avoid and how to proceed with caution.
I do in my book. Maybe I haven't put out content, but I literally, what I'm guiding men to do, all of that is included.
Do you have that list?
Yeah, it's somewhere in my book.
Like, I have a list right here that I'm using to write the book for, that actually tells guys what to look for in a wife. And I guarantee you, I'm going to ask Rob this as a perfect example, and I'll ask him how many of traits of these things does his wife Avis have? And I guarantee you it's going to be quite a bit, because we've already done this. Didn't we do this with you?
I think you did it with me too.
I don't remember.
I think you did it with me potentially.
I didn't give you no traits. You got 0 traits.
Oh, yeah. No, I think you did. You're right. Yes.
We did do this.
We did do the list. Yes.
So, like, I don't tell guys like, oh, stay away from women with tattoos or whatever. I'm that guy that likes crazy tattooed women. Okay, like it's my. Let
me read you my list. I found it. Flakiness, cruelty, jealousy, resentment, unresolved trauma, or someone trying to fix you. That's the main list I put together. And
okay, but you're not telling them what to look for. So let me help you out with what to look for.
I did. I put green flags as well. But we're talking about red flags.
Fit, friendly, feeling, sympathy, polite, pleasant, peaceful, accommodating, agreeable, conscientious, nurturing, cooperative, deference for her man or her elders with more experience, etiquette and decorum, trustworthiness, respectful, prompt, compassionate, passionate, responsible, intuitive, understanding, nesting, eagerness, enthusiasm, naivete, innocence, self-care, modesty, elegance, restrained sexuality, but unrestrained sexuality for her man, you know what I mean. Loyalty, self-validation, timeliness, social awareness, active listening skills, sense of values, willingness, mirroring, openness, and good nature. Like, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, Avis had a ton of those qualities early on. Some of those she developed as I finished building her, but they're all there now. Yeah.
Thank you. Brought to you by Build a Bitch.
Build a Bitch.
Perfect.
But see, big thing, like, if you're not telling guys look for these traits in a woman,
I do have green flags. Your list is a lot more exhaustive, but I definitely have green flags as well. I'm saying I do tell men these things.
Bro, I haven't seen one video like, and this is what I'm saying. This is where the imbalance is, because I like you. I do. I really do think you have a good heart, and you really want to make an effort and change. And I've
only known Raphael for 2 hours. He's a good guy. I do like him.
Yeah,
I have. Everyone here seems like they have their heart in the right place.
But every time, if like I see people only do half a solution, you're setting people up for failure, and you're in the way you're doing more damage than you are good in that sense.
But you got to understand, the guys I'm talking to, they can't even get a date. I have to get them to understand themselves. Then maybe they can find a woman. Then maybe they can figure out what it is they want. I'm talking to one of my clients is a 38-year-old virgin. I'm trying to get him out.
I don't think that's any different than the red pill.
Yeah.
At least in terms of information. I understand there are people out there who are giving perhaps poor prescriptions alongside of that, but that's not what the red pill.
I think the red pill and me run parallel in some ways. I do think there is, like, again, but I think I was able to do it without the hatred and misogyny. That's kind of my only goal, is if I can get that out of it and I can actually give what I would consider prescriptions that I think would actually help men, and also be willing to change my prescriptions if new information comes along and I'm able to say, you know what, that's a great idea. I never thought about that. But I feel like with the red pill, it's like, no, this is the truth. It'll always be the truth. And no matter what they say, this is it. And I just think that's harmful, especially because if you look at the comments on any of these videos, none of these guys seem happy. None of these guys seem like they're doing great. Myron looks like the most miserable person on earth. He's never had a long-term relationship, and the way he talks about women makes these guys cheer and rile up because it just makes them feel validated. And
you
so,
should see some of the spaces that, you know, when me and Rob hop in their space, or when Gia hops in their space, we do these conversations all the time. And I'm literally breaking them down from both sides. I'm like, look, guys are not doing what they need to be doing. They're not being the standard bearer. They're not setting the standard of this relationship. Like, hey, this is the relationship that I want. No, they keep on cowering in, and they do this happy wife, happy life thing. And they keep on, you know, not respecting themselves. And then they get mad that their wife doesn't respect them. Well, you show them time after time that you don't even respect yourself when this behavior is bad. You accept bad behavior. So why should she respect you? Right. But there's things like that. But you have to be able to talk to both sides. And if you're not able to say, like, ladies, you know what? This is where you're fucking them. The reason why you can't find a good man is because there's maybe behavior traits or characteristics that you have that you need to work on that's keeping you from finding that guy that you want. And until you're able to actually address that, has nothing to do with red pill guys. It has to do with a guy that actually takes care of himself and actually values he knows his worth. He knows what he's going to do when he invests in a woman. He knows what she gets to inherit by him marrying her, right? So a guy like that, yeah, he's going to have standards. He's not going to accept bullshit, right? And if you don't tell women you need to work on that, that doesn't make the guy red pill just because he won't accept your bullshit. It means that's a guy that actually gives a damn and honors himself. You know, you have to acknowledge both sides of the problem here. And it's not all red pill.
What message, Raphael, would you give men to have them tap into the confusion that they're going through? Like, how would you help them out of that right now?
Yeah, I would say, you know, anger and resentment is a poison that doesn't hurt the people you're mad at. It only hurts yourself, and you're taking it. So it's not getting you anywhere by being angry and upset. If the only thing you can do is your own actions and control your own feelings and your own emotions and look inward and self-improve, not just outside, but inside. Why do you feel the way you do? Why do you think the way that you do? Why do you view women the way you do? Look inside and really start to understand yourself, because once you understand yourself, you'll know what you want. And the better you can like yourself, the better someone else will like you. If you don't like, in the beginning of the book, I say, a good relationship involves liking both of the people in it. That includes yourself. If you don't like yourself, they're not going to like you. They're not going to respect you. You're not going to attract anybody. And it starts there. So it starts with, I think, liking yourself, because if you do, you won't be mad at the choices someone else makes, because you also understand it's not in your control.
That sounds like some like hugging yourself shit. Like,
so
it's Marcus Aurelius more than anything.
I would encourage you to keep on with that message, because, and this is just my own experience being in media for well over 15 years and amassing a big following. One of the worst things a content creator can do is associate themselves with a group that's online, like an echo chamber, okay? Because what's unique about you is going to get lost, and you're going to attach yourself to the very thing that you don't want to be attached to. So that's why I'm going to encourage you to keep putting out the message to help men get out of that angry spot, to find, resources to become better, because ultimately that's what we're all doing here. We're all here to really help men and women have better relationships.
I think that's great advice. I think that's very great advice. Thank you.
I just want to acknowledge that you have 2 people or 3 people here that have a collective of 50 plus years of marriage, and they are a vast source of resource when it comes to advice. We just did a podcast the other day about levers, right, and pulling levers and stuff like that, and how some levers being pulled could be good and bad, and it is so enlightening. So I would encourage you, I would really encourage you to, when you're looking back at this stuff, even when you watch this back later, ask yourself, let me just dive into this with what they're saying. Let me just kind of like follow the thought with what they're saying, because you're having two very beautiful women here who are very happily married in their marriages with very patriarchal or red pillish guys, and they're thriving. And then you see a bunch of other people who are not in those kind of relationships, and they're just they're dying. They're just constantly just falling off. 7 years, 4 years, 5 years divorce. And then Rob and Avis, 30 plus years.
Yeah, but Rob's new to red pill, you said, right?
Years.
I am, but yeah, maybe I should have clarified a little bit. I mean, I red pill is something new to me within about the last 2 years, but what really intrigued me as I started reading this content is it's like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense. This is us. This is what we do.
Are.
This is how our relationship has been.
Yeah. I have, again,
it was very validating in terms of like, it just was like, yeah,
that's a worldview. It's like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. No problem. Again, if it's leading to great, and I even said this when I debated Andrew, if red pill is helping you have a great relationship and a great marriage, continue. I have no problem with it. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But I think the vast majority of the people who are listening to it aren't in your guys' shoes or aren't in your position.
Well, it has to be framed as it's just information. What you do with it is moral or immoral.
Yeah, I think that is a decent message. I just feel like that has been drowned out by the more popular creators now.
Well, I will say like that, and we'll wrap up pretty soon after this because we're already way past the hour mark.
I mean, Glenn, I got to eat soon, you know.
I know.
I gotta get my ass to the kitchen.
I know. I was gonna say you still got that time. I'm waiting for the yell.
Yeah, I need my food.
I'll say this, like, you know, when it comes down to it, if you can't look at both sides, and you're saying like you can't even see feminism as a problem, I want to say you have a blind spot, my friend. And if you can't acknowledge that you have a blind spot, I want you to take the time and really reflect on it. Think about all the things that have played a role, that feminism has played a role in, that may have benefited women, but was at the cost and the detriment of men, right? So, for example, I drafted a bill for legislation to address family court, right? And this bill actually covers every single point that men have mentioned and have struggled with when it comes to marriage and divorce. It cuts out all the loopholes, and it puts both women and men on the same level playing field, because our divorce laws are operating based off of 1960s, 1970s living standards and conditions. It doesn't reflect anything to our current day. So yes, back then, alimony, child support was necessary for these women. Now it shouldn't be considered obligated, or even the tender year doctrine that they used to believe. We now know, we have evidence that tender year doctrine is trash. That's not good. So we need to have laws that reflect our current information, right? So that's one reason why guys are avoiding relationships. And that would be right there is how feminism is negatively impacting relationships, because it is allowing this old standard not to be renewed or current. Because anytime they try to pass a bill or even consider changing the laws when it comes to family law, every feminist group will out there be like, they're trying to lock us in the kitchen again. They're trying to, like, you know, chain us up. They don't want us to be able to exit out of divorce. They want us to be in abusive marriages. That's what they said during 2024.
Yeah,
and that's feminism. So if you can't do that, that's
I don't blame feminism for family court. There was a time when women didn't work, and when they were getting divorced, they would be out on the streets without some sort of alimony. There was a time where that existed, and there was a reason it existed. I totally agree with you that the court system needs to catch up with the times 100%. I think men need to be far more considered in family court, like 1,000%. I think that shouldn't be a default situation. I think who gets the kid should be an absolute case study on like who really should have full custody. You know, obviously it's an expensive thing. If they can make it cheaper, I agree with you on a lot of those things. I just don't think feminism is the reason those exist.
I can't believe why you can't see it. I think feminism, the reason why we haven't had the modifications is what I'm saying. The modifications.
I can go with that. I can give you that. Yeah. I can give you that.
That would be how that is still detrimental. That's playing a detrimental role in family creation and relationships and families.
I can give you that. I can grant you that for sure, 100%. I think feminists are probably over-indexing on that end. I think there probably is some kind of middle ground, but I absolutely am for more men being able to have custody and, you know, have more fair outcomes in divorces for sure. That's absolutely something I believe in.
Rob and Avis, do you want to say any final thoughts before we read him his last rites and send him on his way?
No, I enjoyed the conversation, Raphael. It's good.
Me too.
Good conversation.
Nice meeting you guys.
What's the word I want to use?
Fun. It was fun.
Fun. Yes. Good faith.
Yeah. That's why I like talking with Glenn, because it's always good faith. That's why I like coming here.
I appreciate
you
that.
too. Gia, you too. Very, very cool.
Thank you. That was good meeting you.
Pretty soon, Raphael, I think you will be a full supporter of the Build a Bitch program. Good wives do not come pre-made. They are built. All right. Stay tuned for the coursework coming soon. But I appreciate your time, Raphael. I really do. I'm still going to keep on rooting for you. I'm still going to keep on messing with you because I see your heart. You really do want to help.
I like my beliefs being challenged. I do. I like to whittle away at my beliefs, make sure they hold up, so I appreciate this.
Well, they blew right over. You better go catch them. They're flying all over the place.
I got to go get them. Yeah, they're.
But, Gia, anything last you want to say?
No, it was good. It was very interesting, hearing your side of things. And I think, I got some things from it. I hope you got some things from
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. And I appreciate your advice. Yeah, I appreciate your advice too, for sure.
Thank
you. I know pointing out my blind spots is a good thing. I want to be sure that I'm, not overlooking things. So I appreciate it.
You're looking like Ray Charles. You can't see shit. But ladies and gentlemen, that has been another episode